Whipped for dumping my girlfriend after she ignored my calls and messages and went clubbing while I was undergoing emergency surgery. I 22M, and my girlfriend, 22F have been together for 5 years. We've been together since high school, and until recently, I've always considered her to be my future wife. I've even bought a ring and was planning on proposing over the coming months. Well, last weekend it was my girlfriend's best friend's birthday. She and her friends booked a private lounge at a club. Obviously, I didn't go since 1. I wasn't invited and 2. I hate clubbing or anything associated with that. I was actually looking forward to spending an evening alone and just binging Netflix or something. Well, my GF left around 9 p.m., and I just crashed on the couch and watched some YouTube. Well, around 11 p.m., I started to feel this distinct stomach pain. The same pain you experience when someone hits you in the nuts. It wasn't bad at first, and I just thought my body was playing some tricks on me, but in the span of about 5 minutes, the pain just kept getting worse until I was basically stuck in the fetal position on the couch. Again, initially, I just thought the pain would go, but then I pulled down my pants, and it felt like my right testicle was starting to swell. The moment I tried to get up and grab my phone to inspect whatever the fuck was happening to me, I just collapsed to the floor. That was probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Imagine being pelted in the nuts over and over again. I did manage to crawl to the table next to the couch to get my phone. I immediately tried calling my GF, but she declined my call. I then texted her that something was wrong and she could come home immediately. The club she went to is like a 5-minute walk from our apartment. I just put the phone down and started throwing up because of the pain. After throwing up for like a minute, it felt like the pain started to cool down a bit, and I grabbed my phone again, and that's when I saw her response. She just replied with a, "What is it?" I tried calling her again, but as expected, she just declined again. I then texted her that I need to go to the hospital now. She then asked for what, and I just replied with my balls hurt. I then just dialed for emergency services. I explained my situation to the emergency responder, and she asked if there was somebody that could drive me to the hospital, and I stupidly said yes. I thought my GF would be home soon, and she would drive me to the hospital. I felt embarrassed to call an ambulance because my balls hurt. After I told the emergency responder this, she then told me that she would call me again in 10 minutes to make sure I was being driven to the hospital. I then put down the phone and went back to vomiting on our carpet. Again, after the pain went away for a bit, I checked my phone and saw that my GF just responded with laughing emojis. I again tried to call her, but as expected, she just declined again. She texted me that this wasn't the time to play games, and she then told me that if I texted or called her again, she would block my number. I again tried calling her, but she declined again, and when I tried calling her a second time, I realized she actually blocked me. I went back to curling up on the floor, and now I started shivering. At this point, I didn't care about being embarrassed and just called emergency services again and asked for an ambulance. It felt like an eternity, but the ambulance eventually came and rushed me to the hospital. I don't remember much of surgery since I was sedated, but I remember waking up eventually, and my right testicle was being stitched together. The doctor informed me that I had a testicular torsion, and I was extremely lucky to reach the hospital in time. I could have easily been forced to surgically remove my testicle. I checked my phone and saw the missed calls and messages my GF left me. In summary, she came home from clubbing and smelled the vomit in our apartment. When she saw the vomit on our carpet, she got mad and tried searching the apartment to find me. When she realized I wasn't there, only then did it hit her that I was actually being serious. I just texted her in which hospital I was staying in and my room number, then went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and saw my GF sleeping on a couch next to my bed. After she woke up, she started bombarding me with apologies. She thought I was joking, that I was trying to ruin their night, etc. I didn't have the energy to argue, so I just kept quiet. I was beyond hurt by what she did, and I wanted to break up with her then and there. Why the fuck would somebody ignore messages where their partner is begging them to come home? Not only that, she stayed in the club until 3 a.m. and didn't even consider going home to check on me. She did stay with me in the hospital for the remaining 2 days I was admitted there and did take good care of me, but I was still beyond pissed at her. Ever since coming home yesterday, I've been wanting to dump her, but at the same time, I feel like she genuinely thought I was joking and made a mistake. I feel conflicted and don't know how to proceed in this situation. Whipped if I dumped her. Am I overreacting? How would you guys navigate this mess? Edit. Just to clarify. No, I never had an issue with her going out in the first place or have ever pulled pranks for her to come home from a night out. And by the way, thank you guys so much for the support. I'm beyond blown away. Comments. Commenter 1. Even if she thought you were joking, you deserved a phone call. Your partner should be worried about you versus, why are you ruining my night? Have you ever done this before? She could have called to confirm something was or was not wrong when you said hospital. I would really consider if you went to continue this relationship. She prioritized partying over a phone call, heard hospital and still blocked you, and was planning on yelling about the vomiting. I wish you well in your healing. Commenter 2. I can't imagine my partner blocking my number at all while we're actively dating LMAO, let alone while I'm in the midst of a health crisis. Gargantuan red flag. Commenter 3. Yup, if I called my girlfriend and my number was blocked I would assume I'm single and proceed with my life accordingly. Commenter 4. Former paramedic here. Dude, when you're in that level of pain, don't call your fucking girlfriend. Call emergency services. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Oh, an NTA, but your girlfriend is. Commenter 5. They have a strong disconnect in communication styles. If they get married before figuring it out, they're going to blame each other. Update. First of all, I just want to thank all of you for the amazing support. It's been quite overwhelming, to be honest. I have so many unread messages, so please, guys, give me some time. I promise I'll respond to all of them. First of all, I would like to clear up some misconceptions brewing in the comments section of my last post. No, I have never pulled any malicious pranks on my girlfriend to get her to come home early from a night out or anything, neither do I have an issue with her going out, as long as she doesn't come home at like 6 a.m. And no, I've never blown up her phone like that while she was out with friends. We usually go out together since we share the same friend groups. Here are mine and her messages from WhatsApp in order since people thought I just texted her, my balls hurt, or something. Me, declined my first 2 calls, her name, please come home something is wrong, her. Can't talk right now. What is it? Me, tried calling her again. I need to go to the hospital, her, what? Me, again tried calling her twice. My balls hurt. Please come now. Something is wrong, her. Me, tried calling her again twice after calling emergency services, her. I swear don't bother me again or I'm blocking you. Let me fucking enjoy my night out. Me, tried calling her again twice and got blocked. At this point, the pain was too bad to try anything with her anymore and I just called an ambulance. Her next message after unblocking me at 2 a.m, my name, why the fuck is there vomit in the living room and where the fuck are you? Why is the front door unlocked if you left somewhere? She then went into a full mental breakdown as she realized I was being serious about going to the hospital, over 70 messages. Yes, it was stupid of me to expect her to drive me to the hospital since she was drinking, but again, in that type of pain, you don't think clearly. I think I needed her more for moral support and I did it out of pure instinct. Not immediately calling an ambulance was also stupid of me. I was in a lot of pain, but stupidly at the time thought that whatever I was going through would eventually calm down and driving to the hospital would be better than calling an ambulance. Also, in hindsight, me being embarrassed about calling an ambulance over my balls was definitely also really stupid. The amount of mental gymnastics some of you did in my comments to paint me as some sort of dweeb or emotionally needy person for bothering my GF was truly mind-blowing to me. I promise you if my GF was in my position and I ignored her, none of you would be defending me. Now for the update. Thank for all those who wished me a speedy recovery. I'm doing much better now. Not being able to go to work for the next 3 weeks is definitely a bummer. I work for my dad's construction company, and my job requires lifting a lot of heavy weights. I'm also prohibited from having any sex for the next 2 to 3 weeks as well. I might have also developed some trauma due to the pain. I randomly get the same sensation again, and it's driving me nuts. See what I did there. As for me and my girlfriend, it's complicated. As so many of you and my mom told me, 5 years is definitely a long time to be just throwing away without having a proper conversation with her. So I did just that. I told her how hurt I felt by everything. I mentioned the following points. Her ignoring my messages and declining my calls. Yes, clubs are loud, but where I'm from there are smoking areas where you can definitely have a conversation over the phone. Blocking me after I tried calling her. Her not checking on me once even though the club she went to is only a 5-minute walk from our apartment. Her being angry about the vomit instead of being concerned. After hearing that she got defensive and told me that I could have conveyed my situation better and that she genuinely thought I was joking. She was drunk and wasn't thinking clearly. She also told me that it couldn't have been that painful and I was over-exaggerating. I then told her yes I could have phrased my messages better and I apologized for that, but I then described the pain I was in and told her that I barely had the strength to text her, let alone send her a detailed description of what was happening to me and definitely couldn't think straight throughout everything. After hearing what I said she started crying and apologizing for what she did. She told me if she knew how serious it was, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. She then also apologized for her being mad over the vomit. According to her she was drunk and tired and was just expressing frustration. I then asked her why she thought I was joking and if she was cheating on me because this was seriously out of character for her, hence why I immediately trusted her with this. She started crying harder and she looked like I just slapped her in the face. She told me that she just thought I was being insecure about her being in the club with a bunch of guys and no, she wasn't cheating on me and would never do something like that. We then hugged for a solid 10 minutes after that. The next part was really hard for me, but I told her I need some space to gather my thoughts and told her she needs to stay with her parents for the time being. She immediately started having a mental breakdown and asked if I was breaking up with her. I told her I wasn't sure and needed time to see if I still trusted her after all of this, and what she did was beyond disrespectful. How could I trust someone with my life after they pulled something like this? I then told her that we are young and this mess was mostly caused by our immaturity. This entire situation was an important life lesson for the both of us regardless if we stayed together. After begging a bit more, she then put her head down and started packing a few essentials. Before leaving, she told she would be willing to do anything to make up for this and that I could take as much time as I needed. She then gave me a big kiss and left. That was 2 days ago and this is where we currently stand. I still give her updates on my healing, but besides that we don't contact each other. I'm really torn right now. I still don't have that trust in her, but her owning up to her mistake shows that she knows she fucked up and is remorseful. This is definitely something out of the ordinary for her, but there will have to be major boundaries and new rules set. I can think of the following. If she blocks me again for anything equals blocking herself from ever seeing me again. Ignoring my messages will not be tolerated anymore. If she goes out alone again, she has to pick up if I call regardless of the situation. As many of you suggested, having an emergency code like hospital or something would probably have to be implemented. I'm not going to abuse any of these boundaries, but I just want peace of mind knowing that my partner has my best interest at heart even when she is physically not around me. But again, I just want to thank you guys for everything, and this whole experience was definitely an eye-opener for me. Should I get back together with her? If yes, would my demands be reasonable and could I add something more? Wibta if I dumped her over this whole saga. Edit, I don't know what happened to the bullet points in my post. Seems to be a weird bug or something. Comments. Commenter 1. Time in doesn't mean you need to stay with someone. That just delays the ending of it if you think you can't get past not trusting her. You would not be an asshole if you chose to end it. You would also not be one if you decided to give it a go. You need to go with your gut. I personally would have a hard time getting past someone blocking me when we are in a relationship. That level of petty would be too much for me. To me, that does not imply a partnership, and I need a partnership with my significant other. This October will be my 30th anniversary of being married. If he blocked me or did not pick up when I made multiple calls, that would be a trust broken, and I'm not sure I would be able to get past that. Commenter 2. When I woke up my partner in the middle of the night for him, it was 9 a.m. but he got off work at 5 a.m, in pain so bad all I could communicate was, something is wrong. He dropped everything to help me. He drove me to the hospital, called my parents for me, explained what had been going on to the doctors, advocated for me to get pain meds, and stayed with me the entire time. That's what a caring partner should do. If a partner doesn't help, okay, maybe they can't. If my partner even called me twice in a row, I'd drop everything to answer or call back. If for some reason I can't, I'll text him. Your partner is a million red flags disguised as human, I think. Commenter 3. But also, I would never be able to recover from this if this happened to me. You were having a medical emergency and she's still trying to blame you for not communicating clearly. Commenter 4. Update us again, lol. How are things going? How are the boys doing, if you know what I mean, lol. Hope all is well. Reply, ha ha ha, thank you. Me and my boys are doing fine. I'm not posting an update since I had a lot of people calling me a bitch in my DMs. I've broken up with her and I'm doing much better. Stories number 2. My husband's childhood best friend asked me for a favor, then humiliated me in front of her family. I'm done being the bigger person. I've been sitting on this for a few days, trying to decide if I'm just being dramatic or if I've been letting too much slide for too long. So, I, 30F, have been happily married for a few years now. My husband, 31M, is honestly a gem, kind, patient, hilarious, loyal. Basically everything you'd want. Which, after having an ex cheat on me with his best friend, is kind of a big deal. That relationship wrecked me for a while, but I worked hard not to drag the wreckage into something new. And my husband? And thankfully, my husband's never given me a single reason to question him. Until now. Maybe. I do not know. My husband and I have a great relationship, and we're pretty social and often hang out with each other's friends. I get along with almost all of his group, and they've honestly made me feel welcome, except for her. His childhood best friend. Let's call her Claire. Claire has always been cold to me. Not outright rude, just subtle enough to make me feel crazy for noticing. You know that kind of vibe? Every time we've been in the same room, she's managed to talk around me, not to me. I tried. I really did. I've smiled. Made conversation. Been nothing but warm, even when she's given me nothing to work with. She doesn't show up to group hangouts. But she'll invite him over. And he always tells me, to his credit. He never goes without mentioning it, and he's never weird or secretive about her. But it still rubs me the wrong way. I've tried being friendly, I've tried small talk, hell. I invited her to our birthdays, barbecues, engagement dinner, she bailed on all. She skipped our wedding too. And she only ever seems to reach out to him, usually when she's just been dumped and needs to talk. When I've brought it up, my husband says I'm overthinking it. That Claire is just a little odd socially. Maybe she is. Then, a few weeks ago, out of nowhere, she messaged me. She asked if I'd model for her project. Totally unexpected. And I was caught off guard enough to say yes. Part of me thought, maybe this is her trying to connect. Maybe this was her olive branch. I even felt a little hopeful. God, I was naive. So I agreed. My husband offered to come with me since he hadn't seen her in a while and thought it'd be fun to catch up after. When we got there, her family was also involved. And from the second I walked in, it was like stepping into some passive-aggressive Twilight Zone. Her mom and sister kept calling my husband our son-in-law. I laugh, awkwardly. Think I must have misheard. It only got worse. During the shoot, came more of the snarky comments. Jokes about the one that got away and some bonds never fade. Her mom, at one point, literally said, we always thought Claire would end up with him. But life has its detours, I guess. Claire always imagined walking down the aisle with him. And then, it's sweet of her to fill in, though. Oh come on. I wish I was exaggerating. And Claire just kept snapping pictures. Smiling. Saying nothing. No, hey, cut it out, no awkward laugh, no redirect. Nothing. My husband. Clearly uncomfortable. I watched him fidget through the whole thing, clear his throat a few times. He tried to change the subject or came near by me during the shooting. He didn't say much either. Just went kind of quiet. I stuck it out for an hour. Let her take her photos. Smiled, posed, whatever. But the whole time I felt like I was part of a social experiment, and everyone else was in on the joke but me. When we got in the car, he was silent for a while. Then finally said, sorry about all. That was weird, right? And honestly, I didn't even know what to say. Because yeah, it was weird. It was borderline disrespectful. And the fact that he was there, saw all of it, clearly felt it too, and still didn't step in or pull the plug. It makes me feel kind of alone in this. I'm just tired. Tired of pretending this woman is harmless or just awkward. She knows exactly what she's doing. Two don't want to start a huge fight. But I'm at the point where I don't want her in our lives. Not as a friend. Not as a ghost in the corner of our marriage. No more bending over backwards to be the cool wife. I'm not interested in earning points with someone who clearly doesn't want me around. Anyway, thanks for letting me scream into the void for a minute. I really needed to get this out. Edit. Sorry guys, English is not my first, or even second, language. Sometimes it is harder to get my feelings across. Just to clarify a few things people were asking about, Claire is actually a photography major, and this shoot was part of her final project. I'm not a professional model or anything, but I've done some hobby modeling here and there, so when she asked if I'd help out, I thought it was a casual favor. Why at her house? She comes from a wealthy family and has a fully set up photo studio in their house, which is why the shoot happened there instead of at a regular studio. I honestly thought it'd just be her and the camera, not a full audience with drinks and commentary. Additional background, I grew up in a pretty emotionally abusive household, so I think I've gotten too used to passive-aggressive comments and just sort of freeze up. Maybe that's why I didn't react more in the moment, but yeah, it definitely hit harder after the fact. I will update you as soon as possible. Thank you for all your comments. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Borderline disrespectful. I'd hate to see what you think is actually disrespectful. Reply. Wow, reading your comment and honestly so many others, has really helped me see just how not okay that whole situation was. Think I was so used to brushing off this kind of behavior that I didn't even realize how deeply disrespected I was. I grew up in an emotionally abusive household, where snide comments and passive aggression were just part of the background noise. So when someone pulls that kind of crap now, I think a part of me automatically minimizes it like, oh I've heard worse, but reading all your reactions kind of snapped me out of that. And yeah, it hurts that my husband didn't shut it down. I've been trying to rationalize it in my head, like maybe he didn't want to escalate things because it felt like a trap. Or that he is not used to being in these kind of situations. None of that excuses it, though. Not even a little. I'm going to talk to him tomorrow. Really talk. Not brush it off, not laugh it away. Just lay it all out. Because at this point, I need to know where he stands. Thanks for the reality check. I needed it more than I realized. Commenter 2, gotta be honest. The whole modeling session photography stuff sounds 100% unbelievable. That doesn't even make sense at all. Are you a model? Is she a photographer? Why a photo shoot in their home? Why all the family members there? That's not how photo shoots work, really. Reply, yeah, honestly, I get why it sounds off. I probably would have side-eyed the whole thing too if I wasn't living it in real time. So no, I'm not a professional model. She just needed someone for a thesis project, and I've done a little hobby modeling here and there, so I figured it was casual enough to help out. I guess she didn't want to go through the trouble of hiring someone last minute. As for the location, Claire comes from money. Like, money. They'd converted part of their house into a kind of makeshift studio for her to work in, lighting, backdrops, the whole deal. So that's where we did it, which I didn't think was too weird, until I got there and her whole family was hanging around like it was dinner theater. Drinking wine, making snide comments, just watching. It was honestly awkward as hell. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I thought it'd just be her and a camera, not a whole audience and running commentary. Update. A quick recap for those who missed the original. My husband's childhood best friend, Claire, has never liked me. She skipped all invitations, but invites my husband alone, avoids me in person, and still found little ways to insert herself into his life. The final straw. She asked me to model for her final photography project. I showed up thinking maybe it was a fresh start. Nope. Instead, I got publicly mocked by her family, who joked out loud that she should have been the one marrying my husband. First off, holy crap. I did not expect that post to blow up like it did. Thank you to everyone who commented, messaged, or just made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind. So many of you asked for an update. And here it is. For those wondering, no, they never dated. He had a high school crush on her over a decade ago. That's ancient history. No, I don't think he's ever cheated, emotionally or physically. He's always very open and honest. We have each other's passwords. They barely see each other anymore in person, maybe once every few months. We live about 2 hours away. Okay. So here's the update. Funny enough, I didn't even get the chance to sit down and talk to my husband before something else happened. I just can't believe my life at the moment. Anyway, I was still trying to process what happened and sort through my anger towards Claire, and honestly, toward my husband too. That's when I got a message from my sister-in-law, we'll call her Madeline. I'm really close with Madeline. She's also part of the wider social circle that Claire floats around in. They're friendly but not close. She sent me a screen recording from Claire's close friend's story with a simple, WTF. It was a clip of me posing during the shoot, no music. But in the background, you can clearly hear Claire's sister say, Claire should have been the one to marry him. I lost it. I waited until my husband got home from work, sat him down, and showed him the video. He watched it once, then again. His whole face changed, he finally looked pissed. I could not help but think, why didn't he have the same reaction there? So I laid it all out. I told him everything. Every snide comment, every time Claire made me feel small. How I'd always tried to be civil. How I never asked him to choose between us. But I was done being polite while someone consistently disrespected me. I told him, if this doesn't bother you enough to act, we've got a bigger problem. I'm not going to be in a marriage where I have to beg to be defended. I need a partner who stands up for me. And if that's not you, then I need to rethink this. He didn't argue. Didn't get defensive, and I know he feels sorry. Then I showed him the Reddit post. He tried to read every comment. Some of them made him tear up. When he finished, he looked at me and said that he feels like the worst husband. He let this happen right in front of him. He is so sorry. And asked me, what do you need from me now? I told him straight up, this isn't just about her anymore. It's about whether or not you're willing to protect this marriage. But I'm not going to feel like I'm second place in my own relationship. So it's either me or her. So we called Claire. She picked up all cheerful, acting like nothing had happened. We brought up the video. She immediately got defensive. Oh come on, it was just a joke. Are you really mad over that, seriously? And that's when he stepped in. This isn't just about the video. It's the constant disrespect toward my wife. I didn't say anything before because I didn't want to lose your friendship, and I convinced myself you didn't mean it. But what happened at that shoot? That was disgusting. My wife came to support you, and you and your family treated her like a joke. I didn't speak up then and I'm ashamed of that. But that ends now. I don't even know why I held on to this friendship for so long. If you can't respect my wife, you don't respect me. She laughed, literally laughed. Wow, you're really cutting me off over that girl. OMG, I was ready to fight. But husband calmed me down, said to Claire, if choosing between you and my wife ever felt like a hard decision, I wouldn't deserve her. We're not kids anymore, you need to grow up. I simply do not want to be your friend anymore. I have nothing else to say. Telling you he can be a gem sometimes. But yeah, we blocked her and her entire family. Since then, he's been checking in with me. Not trying to fix things. Just showing up. Listening, understanding. He finally sees what I've been dealing with. We've still got some healing to do. But now I know where he stands. And that changes everything for me. To everyone who commented last time, thank you. Seriously. You helped me feel like I wasn't crazy. And maybe even more importantly, you helped him finally see it too. Stories number 3. Aita for laughing at my stepson and ruining his wedding. I have been married to my husband for just over 20 years. We started dating when my stepkids were 5 and 3. Our kids are, Adam, 28, stepkid 1, Ben, 26, stepkid 2, Charles, 20, David, 17, and Ellie, 13. Adam is getting married at the end of summer to his fiancée Alice, 27. We have all been very excited for them. All of the kids have roles for the wedding. Charles is the best man, the other 2 boys are groomsmen, and Ellie is a JR bridesmaid. Last weekend we had a dinner for my husband's birthday, all of the kids attended along with Alice. The topic of the wedding came up again, and this is where it started to go downhill. Ellie brought up that she was so excited to go dress shopping and that we planned to go to a bigger city in a few weeks to get her a dress and me a stepmom of the groom dress. At that, Alice looked at Adam sideways and responded that we only needed to worry about one dress, Ellie's. Ellie kind of laughed and said, "What are you expecting mom to wear? A suit?" Alice responded with, "My name isn't going. You know we are keeping our guest list very limited to only family and a few close friends." What? Adam and Alice have been to our house numerous times for holidays, dinners, just to say hi since they've been engaged. This has never been brought up. Pretty quickly things escalated. The Cliff Notes version is that Charles asked them to clarify if they were choosing to uninvite me now or if I was never invited. Alice confirmed the latter. Why? Adam said it's because I'm not his mom. Charles, David, and Ellie argued with Adam and Alice that none of them were going to go if I wasn't invited. That it was cruel to leave me out given I've been his parent for a majority of his life and loved him like my own. My husband and I admittedly sat there for a minute just fucking shocked. Adam finally turned to my husband and said, "Well." My husband told him he wouldn't be going either. Adam then turned to me and asked if I was really going to let everyone ruin his wedding on my behalf. Here's where I might be the asshole, I just laughed. What came over me, but the entire thing was just so ridiculous that laughing was the only thing I could get out. I told my husband I'd be waiting in the car and left. And then promptly bawled my eyes out. Anyways, Charles, David and Ellie are not talking to Adam. Adam called my husband yesterday to try and smooth things over. He was still adamant I'm not invited and it's their wedding. He also requested I apologize for laughing at him. My husband told him tough shit. It's their wedding and they can invite whoever they want, but they can't control who will actually go. He said they owe me an apology and that Adam should be ashamed of himself. I'm getting texts now asking WTF I did and why I'm being a step monster and ruining the wedding. AITA. Some of comments. Commenter, I feel like there's a lot missing here. You've been married to his dad since he was 8. That was years of elementary, middle, high school, and college. 20 years. Is his mother living? Did his fiancée influence him? Just seems odd to not invite his dad's wife of 20 years and call her not family. I don't think you're TA, but I just want to know more about the past 20 years. Reply, I am sorry, I had to cut out a lot for the character count to post. When Adam called, my husband did ask him if I had done anything, if it was related to bio mom, she has never gotten along with us, if I had overstepped in any way. Adam says no, it's just they want family only. Stepdad is invited as far as we know. I was a som for most of my stepkids' childhood and we had 50-50. My husband has always worked a lot but has been as involved as possible. The house and child rearing mostly fell to me though. I love our kids to pieces. I thought we had made it clear from the beginning that I was another parent that loves them, not a replacement mom. We've never had any issues and I thought up until now that we were particularly close. Our communication has slowed since he met Alice, but he was calling me about once or twice a week prior to this. Alice and I have gone shopping on occasion, gotten lunch. I even went with her to the florist for the wedding because her mom wasn't available and Adam got called into work. There has to be someone causing an issue and my husband and I are baffled. Commenter, is his mom invited? Reply, yes, as far as we've heard stepdad is also invited. We, my husband and I, have never gotten along with mom but still play nice as we still have 50-50 of younger stepson, Ben. Adam and his mom had a falling out a few years ago as she was starting to treat him the way she's always treated husband and I, that is, poorly. How to nicely explain other than she's a narcissist. Adam hasn't wanted to talk about it much and we won't push it. I know they talk and visit still but how close they are, I have no idea. Custody of Ben at 26. Yes, he is disabled. He can choose where he is staying as he likes but mostly sticks to a 50-50 schedule still unless there is a family event or vacation. He is pretty independent but not able to live on his own. Guardianship is probably a better word for what we have now instead of custody. Commenter, absolutely NTA. Assuming you and Adam have gotten along fine until now, it's absolutely wild that they wouldn't invite you. Only family and a few close friends, when a step-parent literally counts as family, and the nerve to accuse you of ruining his wedding. I don't blame you for laughing. Reply, it's probably also relevant but my husband's parents are long since deceased. My parents, dad, stepmom, and mom, have been very involved with all of the kids since they were little. They are also not going since if I am not family, they aren't either. My brother and Asael, their daughter, my cousin, they call him uncle, and several of my other family members that have been around since stepkids were little have also dropped. They are up to like 20 people. They have rescinded their yes RSVP for a wedding of maybe 60 people. Commenter, wait, hold up, your family was invited but not you? Then what the hell did Adam expect when it came out you're not invited? Reply, that's my family's take, why are they invited but I'm not? They aren't related to my stepkids by blood either but are apparently family. To be fair, my family is larger than my husband's, stepdads, and bio moms. My stepkids were the first grandkids on my side, they were not with bio mom and dad's families, and were absolutely spoiled rotten growing up. Charles is now supposed to meet Adam for coffee over the weekend. I've warned him that truly I don't think it's coming from Adam and to try to calm about it. Commenter, info, what is the nature of your relationship with Adam? Is his mother in the picture? Could his fiancée be in his ear? Reply, I thought we were particularly close. Besides the normal teenager, I don't have to listen to you, BS phase. We have never fought. We've always had him and Ben 50-50, as a teen and on he's butted heads with his mother. There have been times over the years where Adam had come to my husband and I and asked questions from things his mom has said, but we've always been forthcoming with info. X of that is that his mom called me a homewrecker. This upset Adam. Adam came pissed at us. Explained that no, bio mom and dad were long since broken up and mom even had a fiancé who was not current stepdad when I met dad. Pulled receipts. Adam upset with mom. Blew over and on to the next thing. We still deal with bio mom though and I do have a hard time believing she'd pull something at this point. Alice and I aren't super close but I thought had a good relationship. I have always tried to include her, sometimes she takes up my offer and sometimes she doesn't. I know she sees bio mom quite a bit and that side of Adam's family too. She was raised by her grandparents and does not talk about bio parents often. Commenter, how did Ben react to this? At this point I probably would not go to the wedding and would block his and his FW. They would have to grovel in order to go. They made it clear they don't see you as family so you don't need to do anything for them going forward. Reply, Ben was very upset and confused. He is autistic so what exactly the argument about doesn't quite click, but he's mostly upset. Adam says I'm not their parent and his siblings are all fighting. We've sat him down since and explained that I love him dearly and will never go anywhere. All of us love Adam and are just hurt, and that he himself can choose to go to the wedding or not. He doesn't have to choose sides and we will still love him if he goes. Honestly he probably will, he loves cake and dancing lol. He seems to be doing just fine since. He hasn't asked about Adam but will go to his mom's tomorrow and probably see him there. More info on everyone's relationships. It was hard to include every bit of context in the post because of the character limit, but I quit my job when Charles was 6 months old. Adam would have been 8, almost 9. No affair. I met my husband when he'd been divorced for over a year. Bio mom was engaged to someone else. If you ask their bio mom, she'll say I've always overstepped. If you ask her how, she'll give examples like I went to school events, so did stepdad, I helped with homework, I spent too much time with them. She would thank me for loving her kids so much and then turn around and berate my husband for me loving kids that aren't hers too much. Another example is that in the beginning she wanted to communicate with me directly more. Said she loved the communication and that I was easier to deal with than my husband. Next argument with my husband, she brought up that I was weird and too involved and she shouldn't have to talk to me whatsoever. I haven't talked to her since. Periodically she has brought up that I was easier to talk to and she doesn't understand why communication just has to go through my husband. After several years of trying to appease her, we quit to just focus on keeping our family happy and supported. It's been 23 years now of dealing with her. I've been to therapy multiple times to resolve whatever issues she says I have. It did help with strategies to deal with her. Truly it's just that she has mental issues. Their dad did work a lot, he has always been on nights. It's changed slightly over the years, but we had stepkids Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every other Monday. His days off have always fell over those days so he can spend the max amount of time with them, but usually he worked 1 to 2 of those nights. Very rarely would he work OT on days we had my stepkids, usually on days we didn't. We still currently try to do dates on days when Ben is not with us. I hope that makes sense and clears up some questions for you. Commenter, are Alice's parents still together? Has she assumed you're some kind of evil stepmother? Does she have a bad relationship with her stepmom and doesn't want to invite her? Reply, her mom and dad are her grandparents. She hasn't talked about it much with me specifically, but her bio mom is deceased, drugs, and her bio father's in prison. She's talked about it some with my husband, who was adopted by his aunt and uncle, father not in the picture and mother died from cancer when he was 4. My stepmom has also talked with her at one point because she too was adopted by her grandparents for similar reasons. It just adds to our confusion. We have such a mix of types of family regardless of blood that my MIL has been laying it on thick that I need to smooth things over because family is family, and I'm the parent, so it's my responsibility to fix it. But fuck. I'm not ready to talk to Adam. Edit. Sorry, my mother LOL. My MIL is deceased. One more thought from OOP in response to a longer comment. Thank you for your thoughtful comment. Adam will always be my first son, whether he thinks of me as his mom or not. I thought we had been pretty clear throughout the years that I love him, regardless of what he thinks of me, and that my involvement extends to whatever he wants of me in some fair non-negotiable, mostly safety things, chores his dad agreed on when I asked, that kind of thing. I couldn't get in with my therapist this week, but I do have an appointment next week, and we will try to formulate a well-thought-out response back. I am certainly not a perfect person or parent, but I won't intentionally sabotage him further. I do love a good revenge story, but that's not it when it comes to my kids. I've talked to the youngest 3 and they have reassured me that it's their choice whether or not they go, and I won't push them on it. I have been reminding them that he is still their brother and it doesn't sound like him, mostly for Charles. He is very outspoken and protective. Charles is supposed to meet with him this weekend and I'm hoping we'll get some clearer answers from that. Update post. Hi Reddit friends, my update was taken down by AITA for not having a good enough conclusion, but I do have an update. I had to condense it a lot for AITA, but I'm going to just copy and paste it here. Thank you to everyone who responded to my post. Most of you were kind and offered good advice. I appreciate it. Before I give an update, I just want to answer a few frequently asked questions. I am not an affair partner. My husband did not cheat on his ex-wife with me. We met about a year after they divorced. She was already engaged, not to current stepdad, not that that really matters. Ben was at the dinner, he is autistic. I went into it more in some of my comments, but he was very upset. He doesn't understand what the argument was exactly about, but he was mostly upset at Adam for saying I'm not their parent and then at all the siblings for fighting with each other. Anyways, the update. The short is, if you guessed it was related to bio mom, you were correct. I didn't want this to be the case. Adam rescheduled with Charles for Monday, citing Easter weekend, fair enough. He also texted my husband to let him know that him and Alice would be doing Easter with her parents. We expected that. At some point on Sunday, Ellie texted Alice. I am not sure what exactly was said, but it prompted Alice to spill everything that was going on with her parents. I have met them a few times, but they live a few hours away. They encouraged her and Adam to reach out to us to clear everything up. Monday we dropped Ben off to bio mom's. He stayed an extra night for Easter fun. A few hours later, she began to blow up my husband's phone as Ben mentioned the fight. My husband answered one call in which she was screaming and promptly hung up. He texted her that the siblings argued, everything is fine, and that if Ben has any further questions we will talk about when he's back with us. From some of the things she texted, we knew she was the root of all of this. Monday Adam also met up with Charles, and he did come clean. Charles texted us to see if it was okay if they came over after and we said yes. I'm not going to lie, Adam looked a mess. He immediately began crying and apologizing. The short and sweet is that he's been trying to mend bridges with Mom. Their wedding isn't 60 people, it's blown up to about double that and they have been struggling to figure out how to pay for it. At one of their visits, Alice let it slip and Mom jumped to help pay for things. It slowly snowballed from there, from small requests to big requests. I am not sure what the final nail in the coffin was, but it ended with Mom requesting I not be there. Adam said it was easier to hurt me and risk WW3 with his mom. Alice's parents were less than pleased to find out how they've been with the wedding budget, and even less so at Mom's antics. They are trying to figure out how to start covering the payments Mom has made. We've decided to help some with this. Adam also asked if we could meet again in a few days with Alice and we've said yes. There is still a lot of ground to cover for this to be close to mended. I am still hurt, but mostly, I'm angry on behalf of my oldest son. Stories number 4. Aita for demanding to check my brother's girlfriend's bags before they leave my house. A bit of background here, I, 39F, have a brother, 32M, who I'll call Chase. Chase has been with this girl, 35F, that I'll call Vivian for almost 2 years now. About a month into their relationship, Vivian got pregnant with my nephew who is now almost a year old. Vivian also has 2 daughters, 5F and 8F, from a previous relationship. Her daughters are very close in age to my daughter, 7F, and up until last weekend everyone got along fine. They live in a different state than us but come to visit fairly often and stay with us because we have the extra room. Last weekend they came to stay again, and about an hour before they left my daughter noticed that a few of her favorite toys were missing. The girls were playing all weekend, so I didn't think much of it and offered to help her look for them. After about 20 minutes of searching we could not find the toys anywhere, so I asked Vivian's girls if they remembered where they were playing with them last. The girls said no but acted a little guilty about it. I asked Chase and Vivian about it and Chase said he saw the exact toys in the room that Vivian's girls were sleeping in. We went to check and they were not there. He asked Vivian if she had moved them when she packed the girls' things that morning and she said they were not there. We went back into the living room and I saw Vivian's girls huddled close together over a backpack and quickly closed it when they saw we were there. Chase asked the girls again if they knew where the toys were and this time they didn't say anything and just looked at their mom. Chase reached for the bag and Vivian lost it. She started yelling at me how dare I accuse her daughters of stealing, and she tried to snatch the bag away. Chase opened it and there were the missing toys plus a few more. I was absolutely furious. I told her I wanted to see what else she had and demanded she open the 2 suitcases. She said that was an invasion of her privacy and tried to take them and leave. Chase stopped her and made her open them. She had taken several tops, a few skirts and dresses, and a brand new pair of Nikes that belonged to my daughter. I took everything back and told her she and her girls were not allowed back into my home. I have since received several texts from her and a few unknown numbers telling me I embarrassed her and upset her girls because they were promised the items. Chase is upset with her but said I was too mean to her in front of everyone and that I could have handled the situation more privately. I do feel awful that her girls left crying, but AITHA for how I handled the situation. Edited to add, answers to a few questions I keep getting. I am not sure who promised the girls the items. She would not elaborate but I'm assuming it was her. She wanted me to pull her aside into a different room away from Chase and the kids to talk the situation out. Also yes, I'm 99% sure the baby is his. He is almost a carbon copy of my brother when he was a baby. I do not believe the girls knew they were stealing the things. I really believe that their mom told them I said it was okay. We have never had problems with the girls before this, they really seem to be good kids. Also, I'll be talking with my brother tonight or tomorrow to discuss things further. Edit 2, I will be speaking with my brother in about an hour. I have been in contact with someone that knows her and a lot has come to light. I will update again if my brother says I can, as it's his life and not mine. Vivian is not at all who she claims to be. Stories number 5. I, F28, kicked my husband out of the house in a fit of rage. Contemplating divorce over revelations about his brother's past. Am I overacting? I'll try to be brief. I'm still fuming. My husband, M29, comes from a big family, 4 brothers, 2 sisters, raised by a single mother for the most part. The youngest of his siblings is Joseph, M19. In the 6 years I've known Joseph he's always seemed awkward and a little too quiet and socially inept. I have always had a special fondness towards Joseph because he's such a sweet person and I was a little awkward growing up myself. Joseph has been struggling with some classes and I've been helping him. My husband took me on a special dinner night to thank me for this, and it was there that he revealed why Joseph sometimes struggles. Apparently, their dad who is now dead left their mom over accusations that Joseph was a product of infidelity. He was not. But their dad was super paranoid about infidelity and treated his wife like property. The father started abusing Joseph when Joseph was as young as 2, beating him. He left shortly thereafter and passed away a few years after that. The abuse didn't stop there. Michael picked up where the father left off. The beatings and abuse is too graphic and unspeakable for me to detail it here. It's disgusting and inhumane. My husband said that all the siblings took part, including himself. When I could no longer take listening to the details and the extent to which my husband participated, I asked him why and how he could do those things. He went into full-on defense mode when he saw how furious I was and said they were told he was not their brother. Like that's a valid excuse. He said the family buried it and doesn't talk about it. That Joseph started defending himself at about 13 and the abuse stopped then. I asked him if anybody had apologized to Joseph. He said he doesn't need an apology, that he just needs to forget and in time he will. Since that night 3 weeks ago I have been unable to be affectionate in any way towards my husband. It's like I went from totally in love, to totally repulsed by him. He's suddenly somebody I don't even know. I honestly don't know why Joseph has chosen to stay around all these animals and I'm disgusted with myself for marrying one. Last weekend we had a backyard cookout as we often do. Most of his siblings were here. Joseph knocked over a pitcher of iced tea. He's a little shaky and a little clumsy, but it was an accident obviously. Michael went off and started berating him and called him an idiot and a few other names. She started to berate him about his hands and how they shake so much and told him to get control of it and stop shaking. I gave my husband a look, like, hey, jump in here. He didn't do anything. I lost it. I went completely crazy on her and told her that maybe if she hadn't beat him and other things. At this point my husband jumped in and told me to take it easy on his mom. I told her to leave and she told everybody to leave with her. Joseph only stayed because I practically begged him to stay, but she told him to leave too. I tried to talk to my husband about what happened and why I went off. He told me to mind my own business about his family business. I told him to leave at this point. He reluctantly left and has been calling and texting me non-stop to forgive him. Finally heard back from a friend I had emailed. She's a counselor. She told me I actually victimized Joseph by bringing up the abuse that Friday night. She says I should have simply stood up for him for what happened that night. She says I should apologize to him for that and I will tonight. She also said it's probably going to be the first and only apology Joseph ever gets that's even remotely related to all the abuse he suffered, so be ready for anything. I'm picking him up at his friend's house tonight. His mom kicked him out over what happened. Everything is happening so fast now. My parents have stepped up big time and offered to move him in. My dad is going to teach him how to drive and help him get his DL. He's going to give him his old car that nobody drives. Now we just have to convince him to accept our help. Haven't read all your comments but I will. Just things are happening fast, I need to keep up. I know my kids will be fine. Right now I'm in full get Joseph help mode. I have not read all your comments but I will. Thank you all. Oh, I almost forgot. I spoke to my husband on the phone finally. He thinks he's going to talk his way back. I asked him why his mom kicked out Joseph. He said he had no idea what I was talking about, he didn't know. Joseph told me that my husband has been staying at his mom's and he was there when Joseph was kicked out. I will file divorce, no chance I'm taking him back. Some of you have asked about the details of the abuse. I left them out to spare you. Something inside you breaks when you hear the details of what they did to Joseph. I wanted people to read this and not have to visualize it. Horrible and tragic are not big enough words. Sorry I can't respond to every comment and thanks for some kind words. But just to add some clarity to some questions I keep seeing. No, he has no remorse, nor does he think an apology is needed. He also feels no therapy is needed for anybody, just time to heal. But at the same time he acknowledges that Joseph's shaking and struggle are a result of the abuse. I don't get this contradiction, but I will get therapy for myself as well and try to get more answers. Also yes, my dad is pretty awesome, I knew he would spring into action if I just talked to him. My mom is great too. I knew dad would get her to sign on as well. They like Joseph, and they had reservations about me marrying my husband, but that was for other seemingly petty reasons at the time. I swear on my life that I did not know my husband and his family had this secret. I only knew that they all seemed normal, but Joseph was clearly damaged. He is very sweet-natured, but you can tell he has endured some things. I always wanted to get close to him and try to understand him, but I never would have guessed. TLDR, my husband participated in disgusting, inhumane abuse of his youngest brother. I want a divorce. I think I want him in jail. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your husband sounds like an absolutely horrible human being, and I am really sorry you are going through this. It is one thing to have been involved because it was just the family thing to do, but it is another entirely to take up for it. To be honest, they should all be prosecuted. I realize that this sucks a lot right now, but this is not something I could ever live through. I don't know if you have children, but if you do, that kind of abusive history would be something that he might do to your own children, but also would be important in any custody disputes. He is despicable. I am sorry you found out this way and not sooner. Edit. When I mentioned being involved with it because it is a family thing, I meant while OP's husband was an impressionable youth, but if this happened until OP's husband was 23, if my math is right, then even the family pressure thing doesn't fly. We are talking about someone who was abusive well into his 20s. Reply. We have a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son. My husband has been a good dad, but this changed everything for me. I hate to break up the family because of our kids, but I don't even sleep anymore because I keep picturing what Joseph had to endure. Commenter 2. Oh wow. I am so sorry. I truly believe you are doing the right thing, but wow. It is just scary, even if he is a good dad, that he thinks that is appropriate behavior. Your kids are young and hopefully resilient. They are lucky enough to have a mother with empathy. Reply. Thank you. But yes, I can't get over the fact that even when the abuse began, my husband was around 11 to 13. Even at that age, I think you have to know not to treat a child like a piece of trash or a fly you just squash for no reason. Update. I filed for divorce after a few conversations with my husband. He blames Joseph for our divorce and became very threatening. At one point he said he would walk away from me and our 2 kids if I didn't stop the divorce process. I called his bluff and told him, good, go, we would be better off. In my state it takes 6 months to finalize divorce with children involved. I have sole custody and he never filed for joint custody, which is good. Now on to Joseph. There's so much, but I'll try to be brief. He's in therapy and lives with my parents. He's sticking it out with school even though he has anxiety and depression. He's fighting really hard to heal. Sometimes he has setbacks and is just like a broken down little boy. He has a very strong will and spirit, and sometimes I wonder how far he would have gone in life even now at 19 if the animals hadn't totally broken him. His siblings and mom still try to contact him and guilt him for not staying with his mom to take care of her as she ages. They all agreed that Joseph's life would be to be the mother's caretaker as they all go on have lived their own as they wish. He actually feels guilty about not fulfilling that, shockingly. He has a long way to go before he realizes that his life is his to do as he wishes. They don't have his phone number anymore, but they email him. My dad got him a new phone cause his mom would call him and berate him and guilt him. It seemed like every conversation with her set him back 2 steps. She still knows how to crush him, sadly. I wish she didn't have that power over him. I've never wished a death penalty on somebody like I do on her. He's dating a girl and I'm scared she might hurt him, break his heart, but my dad is more encouraging of that and has to remind me to not overprotect him. Joseph has become very close with my mom. He drives her grocery shopping and enjoys doing that stuff with her. My dad taught him how to drive in like 1 week. He is about to go take his driving test for his DL, he's still on a learner's permit. There are a lot of positive things going on, but progress is very slow and sometimes it's like watching a clock. It just seems like he's standing still in terms of anxiety and depression. I can't say too much about all that's going on, but I can say that my parents have an attorney and are going through the adoption process. I wanted this to be a more upbeat and positive update, but honestly Joseph struggles a lot. Law enforcement is now involved because some of the physical abuse is more recent than I thought, just from his mom. He has a few scars and he has broken bones that never healed properly cause he never got medical attention. Protection orders are likely to be granted. If they are, then according to the investigators charges will almost be inevitable. That part of it I can't say much about, but can say that Joseph is willing to go forward with that process for now under the guidance of his therapist. But we have been warned that he may choose to back off later. Though one cop said there is a point of no return for the DA even without Joseph's cooperation. TLDR, my divorce and full custody is likely. Joseph is fighting hard to turn things around for himself. He has a long way to go. It's so hard for him. He's like a superhero the way he pushes forward. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Wow OP, thank you for helping him so much. If you didn't do what you did that night, he would still be getting abused by his mom. You and your family are great people, keep up with the updates if you can, smiley face. It's good you divorced because if that's your husband's mentality, I can't imagine what justification he would have if he hit your kids in the future. Tell Joseph to make a new email. Just so he can start fresh. Don't delete the old one in case the police need any emails from his family. I still can't believe how everything can change so quickly. Happy Halloween OP, smiley face. Reply, you're right. My life, my kids' lives, and Joseph's life, totally different trajectory now. Futures forever and drastically changed. OOP on how her parents are adopting an adult. Our state allows for this to happen so that Joseph can have benefits like medical insurance as long as he's still a student. It gives Joseph inheritance rights, and it gives my parents medical decision rights in case Joseph was to have an accident and was not able to speak for himself. That way his mom can't try to take over if God forbid this happened. OOP was asked how often her husband was hit. Yes, I did ask. He was never hit. Joseph was the only one who was physically abused. But obviously it was toxic for everybody. But Joseph was absolutely the only abused one. He was singled out by their dad originally, then the mom also kept it up. How did OOP not see anything before? I missed a lot of things, but my friends are not coming forward with things they witnessed that I either didn't see or was in denial about. He is somewhat of a Jekyll and Hyde, but there were signs I should have paid more attention to. His family, however, they really do a good job of hiding the inner workings of the family, and their disgusting secrets. Stories number 6. Aita for threatening to expose my dad's affair with his wife to get him to stop fighting for me to be at his house. I, 16M, was 8 when my parents divorced because my dad was cheating on mom with his wife. My dad actually took me to her house a few times to watch her kid so they could cheat. She was married too. When the affairs got exposed, dad and the ex-husband had to do DNA on her kid. The ex was the father, but he took off. My mom ended her marriage to dad. I have hated my dad ever since, and I hate his wife too. They got married and had kids together, and they tried to make us one happy family. But I never wanted any part of it, and life's always hell when I'm around. I don't like or respect either one of them. They both know it. I will not help them even if they only want something small, and for the whole time my parents have been broken up I wanted to live only with my mom. I was in therapy until a couple of months ago. But it only made me realize how much I want to go no contact with my dad. He always fights for me though. The judge didn't listen to me in court either. Being 16 doesn't give me a say in any of this. And my mom could lose custody if I refused to go to my dad's house. After court the last time dad told me I needed to forgive and move on. He told me I'm hurting the other kids by making it so clear I don't want to be around the family. I told him I'm not forgiving. I told him he was nasty to bring me into his affair, and his wife was nasty for thinking she was anything to me other than the trash he cheated with. He told me if she's trash he must be too, and I said yeah. Him and his wife both tried after that to change my mind, and she told me how much the kids see me as a real brother and would be crushed to know I'm indifferent to them. I told her that was a problem for her and dad to deal with. They told me I don't get to stop going to the house just because I'm angry, and dad promised he wouldn't stop fighting. So I asked them how they'd feel about their coworkers knowing about the affair. They have coworkers over most Friday nights. They have no idea how my dad and his wife met and about the affair. I told them if dad didn't let me go I'd let the coworkers know, and I didn't care if anyone else heard. They told me I couldn't, but I told dad I was serious and that's how badly I want to be done with him. He let me go back home that night and I haven't been there since. But he's bitching to mom about it all the time. She had to mute him because he keep texting her repeatedly. I saw a few and he's saying I went too far trying to expose them like that. He even got my aunt, his sister, to tell me how I went too far and risked hurting the kids the most and costing them their jobs or whatever. I don't know how that'd work, but that's what my aunt said. She told me I should have tried to be more mature about it. Stories number 7. To fool by not realizing I didn't have a master's degree. This happened yesterday, but I guess the fool technically spans approximately 5 years. I finished my master's degree in late 2019, or at least I thought I did. After a grueling year of working part-time and writing my dissertation, at long last I got it finished, presented it in November, got my grade immediately after. My dad was even there to watch the presentation. Good times. Because the holidays were right around the corner I didn't have my diploma until February 2020 and, well, I think we all know what happened to the world right after. When I got home after getting the diploma, I scanned it so I would have a digital copy to send to employers and stuff, put the physical version safely away, and proceeded to not really think about it anymore. That's where the foo began. To be honest, I didn't even really look at it super carefully. Writing my dissertation was so incredibly exhausting and draining that I was just glad it was over and wanted to focus on my work. Years went by. I got through the pandemic, my career as a freelancer started gaining momentum, I fell in love, even moved to a different country. Recently I changed my name and emailed my university to ask about getting new copies of my diplomas with the new name. Somewhere in one of the replies from the university they asked, "Are you perhaps referring to your specialization diploma? We have no record of you finishing a dissertation, only all the other classes in the master's degree." My heart dropped. I looked at the digital copy I've kept for years, even dug up the physical version just to be sure, and lo and behold. While the diploma does mention the master's degree by its name very early on the middle of the second page it does specify that it's a specialization. I have to admit I panicked. I scoured my old emails for something, anything, that could help me prove that I didn't imagine the whole thing and wrote back explaining that I did finish my dissertation and asking what can be done to try to understand what actually happened here. They haven't replied yet, hopefully they will in the next few days. I know the professor who was my advisor can vouch for the fact that the presentation did indeed happen, but I'm terrified that, because it's been so long, nothing can really be done about it anymore. I guess time will tell. I honestly feel heartbroken. Thinking that all that hard work could go to waste makes me want to cry. More than anything I'm furious at myself for not paying more attention and catching this sooner. I feel like such an idiot. Wish me luck figuring this out. TLDR, I thought I finished my master's degree but the university didn't actually have any record of me finishing my dissertation and only gave me a specialization diploma. I didn't notice for 5 years and have no idea if this can be fixed or if it's too late. Edit. You guys, I found my dissertation in the university's online repository. It was published after all. I'm emailing them again with this information. Hopefully it will be enough proof that this is most likely an administrative error. Tomorrow is a holiday in my home country, so I'm not expecting to hear back from them until Monday, but I will make an update post as soon as I have more news. Also, I understand that in most English-speaking countries you write and defend a thesis for a master's degree, but I'm not from an English-speaking country. In my university they call it a dissertation. I'm sorry that caused some confusion. Comments. Commenter 1. Bro, what? This is like my worst nightmare. Reply, I can't even sleep, I'm so stressed about this. Commenter 2. If you're several years into industry, it honestly doesn't really matter unless you plan to work for a 3-letter organization with exhaustive background checks. Employers will care much more about work history and tangible industry accomplishments than a diploma, and they will probably just take your word for it that you earned your degree. Anecdotally, I know someone whose advisor died while he was halfway through his PhD. He already had some industry connections, so, rather than start over with a new advisor, he went into industry claiming that he had a master's degree, which he did not, and no one has checked since. Commenter 3. I'm lucky to be in the opposite situation. I ended up not turning in my dissertation due to homelessness and mental health issues. Obviously knew I'd failed, felt very sad but just got on with life. Then my diploma turned up in the mail with my final grades. They'd given me 50% on my dissertation, the exact grade I needed for a pass. I think someone just took pity on me. They knew what was going on with me in my personal life because I'd been having therapy through uni and regular meetings with my tutor about everything. Update. Hello everyone. A few days ago I posted about how it took me 5 years to notice that what I thought was a master's diploma was actually just a specialization and my university didn't actually have any record of me finishing the degree. Some of you asked for an update, so here it is. First of all, I want to thank you all for the comments on my original post. I tried my best to keep up with them, but I have to admit I didn't expect my post to get so much attention. Once again, sorry for the mobile formatting, the TLDR will be at the bottom. I'm super happy to let you know that I have good news. To those of you who guessed this was probably an administrative error, you were correct. On the same day I made the post I found my dissertation, or thesis I guess, in the university's repository, which means that it did end up getting published like it was supposed to, and I emailed the university again with this information. I also took some time throughout the weekend to email my advisor and gather some information on who else I could potentially reach out to escalate the matter if I didn't get a reply from the people I already emailed, but fortunately it seems that won't be necessary. Yesterday, at long last, I heard back from the university. It turns out that when I finished my master's they were transitioning between IT systems and something in my records didn't get properly updated. Fortunately they told me they were already in the process of fixing it and apologized profusely for the mix-up. I hate that something so small caused such an issue and I'm kind of super pissed at them for the foo, but at least I'm happy it seems to be a simple and fixable problem. It might have caused me a ton of anxiety, but I do still have my degree and I'm getting my diploma. Only took 5 years and a couple of meltdowns, lol. Now I'm off to write to my advisor again, let her know everything should be fine. I feel kind of silly for wasting her time like this, but oh well. Thanks again for all the support and advice, and to those who have been through a similar situation, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It really sucks that this apparently happens so often. Hearing about your experiences made me feel way less alone, but this kind of stuff shouldn't be happening so much in the first place. Have a good one, Reddit. Thanks for listening to me. TLDR, I finished my degree right as they were changing IT systems and my record wasn't updated when it was supposed to. It's now in the process of being fixed. I do have a master's degree after all. Comments. Commenter 1. Retired IT manager here, with a background in data processing. Changing IT systems == somebody screwed up, which likely means you weren't the only person affected. Commenter 2. These days it usually means, we botched a database or public cloud migration, which is specific class of screw up. Commenter 3. Plot twist. You had a master's degree the whole time, you were just on a side quest called Extreme Patience and Anxiety Management. Congrats, you absolute legend. Commenter 4. Thank you. Wish someone would have told me about the side quest sooner lol. Commenter 5. You just made hundreds of people double check their degrees. Glad your situation worked out. Reply, thank you, I'm just happy to be done with this. Stories number 8. Aita for calling my husband a disgrace after he said my miscarriage ruined his birthday. I miscarried yesterday afternoon about 12 p.m. I've never had a miscarriage before and this baby was so wished for, so it's all so fresh and I'm sobbing right now, so I apologize in advance if it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. My husband turned 27 yesterday. I 26F was pregnant with mine and my husband's 27M second child. Yesterday, I was 8 weeks pregnant. The day before yesterday we saw a beautiful heartbeat flicking on the screen and today I'm devastated. I was playing with our 2-year-old when I felt a pressure in my lower abdomen. Not long later, I noticed bleeding and I let my husband know immediately that I had discomfort and bleeding. Before long I had passed what I believe is the fetus and I messaged him, I think I lost the baby. I wanted to keep him updated and I guess I was seeking some kind of emotional support. I asked if he could come home and he said, of course, if it's urgent. I said I think it is because the pain and bleeding is getting worse and I'm starting to feel lightheaded and our 2-year-old is unattended in his playroom right now. We have no friends or family near that I could call who would get to us quicker than he could. I had to clean myself up, crawl downstairs to take paracetamol, make my son his lunch and then put him down for a nap. At this point my husband still isn't home. He was working approximate 30 minutes away and took closer to 60 minutes to get back. Hours later when I asked, it was because he'd stopped at Tesco to pick up some beers. I ended up very poorly, losing lots of blood, lightheaded, vomiting etc. and he had to take me to A&E. By the time I was discharged it was almost 8 p.m. Last week, I had said I'd make him his favorite dinner for his birthday, which he reminded me when we were almost home. I said I wasn't feeling up to it and that whatever takeaway he wants is on me. He said, for fuck's sake, under his breath and then muttered something along the lines of, this bullshit has ruined my birthday. He didn't stop to get any takeaway. He just drove straight home. He put our son to bed and I went to bed and I'm not sure what he did after. I didn't see him this morning as he had already left for work. He's not messaged me all day and he got home a few hours ago. It's now 8:40 p.m. and he's been giving me silent treatment. I tried to speak to him about an hour or so ago and he ignored me and I called him a disgrace. He slammed the bedroom door and locked me out of the bedroom. His mum has since messaged me and said I need to be patient as he's also had a loss. She didn't ask how I was or anything. He's obviously speaking to his mum, but why isn't he opening up and speaking to me? She said I was harsh. I'm feeling utterly emotionally neglected right now. My body has been through emotional and physical hell. I understand that my miscarriage came at a fucking inconvenient time for him as it was his birthday and all. I'm not sure if it's the hormones making me feel crazy, but is it nuts to contemplate divorce? Aita for calling him a disgrace. Sum of comments from both comment sections. Commenter 1, I am on annual leave, and return to work on Monday. I have already told a handful of my close coworkers that I am pregnant. I have no idea to navigate this. What is the best way to tell people that I am no longer pregnant? Do I just say? Do I wait for them to ask? I feel so stupid for telling people so soon, so I've put myself in this position. What's the least awkward way to address it so that there are absolutely no follow-up questions? I don't want to discuss it any more than I have to because I just keep breaking down. Thanks X. Commenter 2, you tell the person you are closest to spread the news for you. And tell them to make it clear you don't want to talk about it. Commenter 3, go to your doctor and get signed off. I haven't personally been in your situation but had a close friend who went through similar. Her doctor offered her 2 weeks initial certificate and more if she needed it. She ended up wanting to go back earlier but he said it was her choice. Definitely take some time to yourself, you have gone through a massive trauma and need time before you have to face work. As for your husband, you are definitely NTA, if I could I'd use much stronger language than you did, both he and his mother should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. I know you said you have no family close by, but is there anyone you and your son can go to stay with for a while who will give you the love and support you deserve? Reply, Are you in the UK? I'm in England. My doctor's surgery is closed until Tuesday because of the bank holiday weekend. Do you know if OOHGPs are able to sign me off work? My work involves closely monitoring new members of staff, assessing them, and signing them off to work independently. I need to be able to focus completely as there is no room for error and be smiley and friendly. I don't think I'm able to do this right now, but I'm not sure how to get signed off as I'm back in work on Monday. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Top commenter: important, you are still at risk of infection at this juncture. It's still dangerous for you. Monitor your bleeding and temperature. Your marriage is over. How long you stay with him is up to you. But this man is neither husband nor father material. He cares more about his wants than your or your child's needs. It took a crisis like this to show who he really is. NTA, I'm so sorry you are going through all this. Reply: I also have tonsillitis at the moment, so I'm feeling really rough. How will I know if a fever is from that or the miscarriage? I currently have a low-grade fever at 37.9 degrees Celsius, around 100 F, but I'm not sure what it's due to. The bleeding is no longer heavy. Commenter: honey, have you got a doctor to consult? Best to ask them. I don't know how to tell the difference, I just know I wound up with an infection and emergency DNC a week after a miscarriage. The bleeding didn't slow for me, plus a slight fever. I didn't expect to be sick later. Hugs. Reply: I spoke with my doctor yesterday, and because of the bank holiday weekend I can't have a scan until Tuesday, to confirm everything has been passed. I spoke to a pharmacist today who said try home remedies because he doesn't think it's severe enough for antibiotics at this point, as he could only see 3 white spots on my tonsils. You can't hear a heartbeat at 8 weeks. I didn't mention anything about hearing a heartbeat. They don't listen to heartbeat through ultrasound here in England, they use Dopplers later on in the pregnancy. We saw the heartbeat flickering on the ultrasound after the technician smiled and pointed it out to us. By the sounds of things, you're lucky enough to have never been referred to EPAC for an early scan. I had a scan at 6 weeks and a scan at 8 weeks. You're kind of correct that the NHS do the first scan at 12 weeks, the dating scan. But unfortunately not everyone has fucking straightforward pregnancies. Don't pull apart my story and try to invalidate my fucking miscarriage. I apologize for being short, but I had no sleep last night and I'm in so much pain, then picked up my phone to see a comment that my story is probably fake because some sheltered person has had the pleasure of not attending EPAC. OOP a few hours later. Fever is currently 38.5 degrees Celsius, 101.3 F. I think I'm going to have to head to A&E for a peace of mind. Thank you guys for your advice. I'll try to respond to the comments in regard to my husband when I'm feeling better and have recovered. It's just been a hellish day and a half. Mini update in comments. I'm not sure how to do an update or if anyone will see this. I have left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family and are safe. I have another scan tomorrow morning to make sure I have passed everything successfully. Thank you to everyone who had reached out and offered advice, it's been really helpful. Plus I started antibiotics for my tonsillitis on Saturday and I'm already feeling much better. Update post. A kind Reddit user informed me that this is the best way to do an update, rather than adding a comment to my previous post, so hopefully this reaches the right people. I should have clarified in my original post from last week that the way my husband responded was completely out of character for him. He's usually a caring and supportive man and is a good husband and father. The only incident where he's shown any kind of red flags was when I put together an accent chair. I used a screwdriver to attach the legs to the seat, and when he came home from work and saw that I'd done it myself, he jumped on it until it broke to show that I didn't do it properly and that I should have waited for him to come home. He'd been under lots of stress at work, so I asked him to go to therapy, which he did, instead of pulling the divorce card straight away. We have been together for 7 years in May and is the only partner I've ever known. My family all love him and have accepted him from day one. I also should have clarified, yes, I know he was an AH in the scenario, I wasn't questioning that. What I was questioning was whether I took it a step too far in calling him a disgrace. He's going through a lot at work at the moment. It was his birthday, I'd been messaging him and telling him that I'd miscarried his child and he had to leave work early, and then I called him a disgrace after he'd taken me to the hospital and was responding to the grief in his own way. I think the majority of people said I was NTA in this scenario, and due to his behavior that my insult was justified. Thank you to everyone who reached out, checked in, offered condolences and emotional support. I've read all my messages and tried to read most of the comments. Most of them have been very kind and useful and have helped a lot over the past few days. I had a scan yesterday which confirmed that everything has passed successfully. Some people may remember that I was very worried about retained tissue due to my fever over the weekend. Also, my tonsillitis has fully cleared up, so I'm feeling almost back to normal, physically. I left my husband. Me and my son are staying with family in a different part of the country, so we are safe and are managing. My husband did get very angry when I told him that I was leaving him. He tried to stop me from leaving with our son, put hands on me and threatened to end his life. My mom intervened and like I said, we are safe. I have some time off work now, so I will continue to take time to recover emotionally and plan my next steps. Thank you if you've read this far. I doubt there will be any more updates after this. Comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad you left him. But I am concerned you'll go back based on how this post is written. You are still speaking about him like he is a good husband and are justifying his behavior. Stop doing that. Make a therapy appointment for yourself. Reply, he's not here to defend himself, so I'm trying to make it as fair as possible from both sides so he's not made out to be a monster. I have a therapy session booked. I will not be returning to him as he's not someone that I want my son to grow up watching and witness that behavior thinking it's normal. Commenter 2, I'm not going to lie, I had no idea where this post was going. It seemed like you defended his behavior then dropped the chair incident on us then continued to defend him. By the last paragraph honestly felt like I had whiplash. Regardless, I'm happy you're away from him and are safe because he's definitely not a good person. Stressed or not, that's not how sane people conduct themselves. Please do not let him guilt you into going back to him. He's dangerous. Reply, sorry, I'd like to say that I'm feeling better emotionally but I'm not. I've kind of just word vomited like it's a diary entry in a sense. I'm going to start journaling from now so that I'm not just rambling to a load of strangers lol. Commenter 3, I am curious why people do stuff like breaking other people's things like that. I had made something I 3D printed and a coworker said, it looks flimsy, and then took it somewhere I couldn't see, and smashed it with a hammer. Like, it was beyond a reasonable thing that would ever happen. Like in that moment, she had a narcissistic demand that I somehow upstaged her, so she smashed my stuff out of jealousy. It baffles me. It was literally just like your husband did. Doing something intentionally beyond its normal use to begin with, to intentionally destroy it. I read your post twice, and I think your husband is having a mental breakdown from work and has developed narcissistic personality disorder, probably from the stress. Reply, I was thinking that maybe he was having some kind of mental breakdown and our miscarriage was the final straw. He said that when he stopped at Tesco to get some beers, it was for the both of us we could drink our sorrows away. I was planning on getting him some help because he clearly needs it. He only acts insane when he's under immense pressure at work, genuinely. When he broke my chair, it was around the time of immense stress at work. But when he put his hands on me, he actually put his hands around my neck and was choking me, which is what is terrifying. I can't look at him the same, so I can't be the one to get him the help. I'm looking into full custody and solicitors so that I never have to see him again. Editor's note, OOP indicated this might be her final update, but she hasn't deleted her account and it didn't feel concluded to me, so I left it as ongoing. Stories number 9. Neighbor hired company to cut tree in my backyard. Context, neighbor said he was tired of the tree over his driveway since it had significant wingspan. He hired a company and they decided to lop down over my fence to near stump. Police report filed, have the company on security footage that matches the business card. Reaching out to property lawyer Tuesday to see if this is significant enough to follow through in court. Cut tree. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm interested to know if he hired them to trim just what was overhanging his property, which he has a right to do, within certain constraints, and they just went rogue, or if he somehow convinced them to trespass to lop it off. Reply. He claims no knowledge of the lopping off. Since this company is unlicensed, it wouldn't surprise me if they just lopped it not caring, but our relationship isn't great, so wouldn't be surprised if he convinced them, saying I didn't mind. Update. End of week, so I figured I would post an update. The officer got the report done the same day and he was able to reach out to the company who cut down my tree. He said he would reach out to me to settle this matter, but hasn't contacted me yet and doubt he will actually do so. The officer went above and beyond in getting a statement from the other parties and getting the contact information. I have handed over the police report and security video to my lawyer, who is putting together paperwork. I have not been able to get an arborist to the house yet to evaluate the monetary damages yet. Maybe an update next week, but this should be a slam dunk since all parties recognize the damages in the police report in case this does go to court. Update. This has been sitting in court for a while, but I keep getting PMs asking for updates. Tree arborist company has default judgment pending as they have not answered anything in the near year since the case was filed. Neighbors Insurance believes the tree company should be held solely responsible and hasn't budged. No settlements offered yet to our demands of valuation. Near or around 6 figures valuation. Comments. Commenter 1. Unbelievable, a 4-year ordeal and still not resolved. How's the tree doing? Reply. 2 years were a wash as the case wasn't filed. Case really picked up last year after a change of attorney. We've trimmed the tree since and fertilized to promote stabilization heath due to a missing trunk, but it'll have to be removed entirely. Commenter 2. No settlements offered yet to our demands of valuation. Near or around 6 figures valuation. It was one tree. And you are valuing it at 100k. Can I ask how you would get to that number? Not being a wise ass, honestly. Reply, the arborist came in at a 30k valuation, treble damages plus trespassing monetary. Commenter 3. Treble damages the most expensive kind. Thanks and congrats on keeping it this. 99% of threads like you started end up where we get no follow-up. Keep the info coming. Update. Their insurance had their motion to dismiss denied, so settlement conference happened today. They ignored my lawyer's requests to talk prior to get numbers, so the $0 offered from them in front of the judge wasn't a surprise. Our $125,000 request was $90,000 treble, $30,000 valuation from arborist, plus costs to restore the land, as it'll be physically impossible to restore the tree with the development over the past 40 to 50 years. Yeah, we're willing to negotiate, it's a giant game. Conference happened and the judge, graciously, got us from $0 to $20,000 and said it's a good deal. I turned it down and I suggested that if this is the carrier's only offer then we should go to trial, as we aren't considering the professional's report and just an image of the stump instead. Some back and forth and nothing really moved, including the defense disagreeing with NYS tree law that they were entitled to cut to the property line regardless if it killed the tree. Judge scheduled another settlement conference for the attorneys but mandated I'm there, which I thought was funny since I had no requirement to be there today, but she was surprised I said no to what was obviously $20,000 they were going to offer when the adjuster picked up the phone regardless. One thing I did throw at the carrier after we disagreed with the tree was touching his house was his client, defendant, requested Google Maps block his home, and it's now impossible to verify except through satellite that it was touching at home. It never was. All of this is bogus talk from both parties since it's settlement conference, but to me and my attorney they are grasping at straws to get the judge on their side. Comments. Commenter 1. Have you checked the county auditor office? Many now have street-level snapshots of each house as well as possibly higher resolution aerial photos. Reply. There's other methods like the county aerial maps that show you the tree never touched his property, but I believe the homeowner was just putting his foot in his mouth as he's claimed to all parties. That I said he can do it, with zero proof. The city said he's allowed to trim up to the property line regardless of any damage, injury, death of the tree, no proof, and obviously the city's official opinion is different than on a phone call. He stated the tree was touching his home, which would suggest the tree had a 40-foot wingspan at that point, which maybe I should get the arborist to adjust his numbers if that's the case, cause I don't think we went that far and high. Commenter 2. It sounds like only the other homeowner's insurance company is involved. Did nothing come from the landscaping company being unlicensed? Was there ever more details about why they decided to lop it off at the base? Reply, we have a default judgment on them, no response from them since filing. Assets and insurance are questionable, so it might be blood from a stone. I assume their insurance also attempted to see about this, which is why they are hesitate to pay anything either. Update. Even though my last thread had some doubters that this case could take so long. The last update was the homeowner's insurance agreed to $20,000 and I turned it down and requested to go to trial. One Redditor in the previous thread said there is no way this is worth any of it, but well, the homeowners came up to $33,000 and I accepted that and rolled the dice on the tree company. The judgment came out after we did an inquest hearing and the judge awarded the remaining balance of our damages. $63,000. So yeah, some cases can take long, and to the doubters who think trees aren't worth money. Here it is. Edit. Lawyer is 1/3 of anything recovered. Lawyer got 11k so far, me 22k, insurance check. We do the same split for anything we get from the tree company. Comments. Commenter. Wow, 6 years. Must feel like a relief now. Stories number 10. Aita for finally snapping at my ex's girlfriend after constant passive-aggressive comments. I, 29F, was invited to a friend's barbecue. My ex, Jake, 30M, and I broke up about 2 years ago. It was mutual, we both agreed we weren't right for each other long-term, and since we share a close friend group, we've stayed civil and occasionally see each other at gatherings. It's usually fine. Jake's been dating Sophie, 26F, for about 6 months. I don't know her well, but every time we've been around each other, she seems to go out of her way to make little passive-aggressive jabs at me, stuff like, wow, you're still single? That's brave, or, must be nice having so much free time without kids. I've always let it slide to avoid drama. A bit more info. Even though we broke up, there have been multiple moments where it's obvious Jake isn't fully moved on. For one, he still finds excuses to text me random stuff, like sending memes or asking about old inside jokes we had. He'll accidentally bring up memories from when we were together when we're in a group, or mention songs and places that meant something to us. On top of that, a few mutual friends have let slip that he's told them he still has feelings, or at least isn't fully over our relationship. Nothing inappropriate while he's with Sophie, as far as I know, but it's clear there are lingering feelings there and I think Sophie might sense it too, which is probably part of the reason she's so weirdly hostile toward me. Back to the story, today Sophie was at it again. Every time I was within earshot, she'd drop little digs like, some people just can't move on, huh, or, guess it takes some people longer to grow up. I ignored it for hours, but then toward the end of the night, she made another comment, well, not everyone can handle being in a healthy relationship. That was it for me. I turned to her and said, you're right, it takes a special kind of person to date a guy still hung up on his ex. It went dead silent. Sophie looked stunned, Jake looked beyond uncomfortable, and a couple of our friends awkwardly tried to change the subject. I left soon after because I didn't want things to get worse. She was making digs at me all night and I finally stood up for myself. But part of me feels like maybe I went too far by throwing that in her face even though it's true. I never planned to use what Jake said done like that, and now I wonder if I made it unnecessarily messy. So Reddit AITA for finally snapping at my ex's girlfriend after constant passive-aggressive comments. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA, she F-ked around and found out. Also if she is so happy in her new relationship, she wouldn't work so hard to bring another woman down. Commenter 2, I don't think a healthy relationship involves one partner constantly making digs at their ex, seems like you're a little obsessed there, sweetie. Commenter 3, NTA, but next time you could also ask what she means by that. That way you don't have a dig yourself, but she has to publicly embarrass herself. Just keep prodding until you get an answer. No, you said, this and that. What do you mean by that? Just help me understand, prodding. It'll shut her up, without making you the bad guy. Commenter 4, was it the best way to handle the situation? Probably not. Could Sophie have been more civil? Absolutely. There are a few things at play here. Literally, everyone has sat there, in silence, while this brat makes constant digs at you. Silence is not neutrality. Silence is a free pass. Silence means they agree. So, for 6 months or so, all your friends allowed this BS to continue. At any given time your ex, any person in the group, literally anyone could have told her to drop the shit, it isn't cool, until she came along there was peace and she is single-handedly ruining it. Nobody said a word. Nobody tried to end the drama. This chick comes along and just stirs the pot while everyone watched. I bet my buttons that if Sophie had been saying stuff to or about another member of the group, that person would have been upset. There is keeping the peace and there is this. Letting her run her mouth isn't keeping the peace, it's allowing a pick-me girl to run unchecked, because nobody in that group has got a spine. A real friend stands up for you. Both to your face and behind your back. None of these people are standing up for you. Not even when you are right there. My best friend's ex-husband got with his affair partner, publicly, after the split. I was working a short-term gig as a bartender. The new woman would cone in, with my best friend's ex and run her mouth about my beastie. Every single time she did, I gave her a single warning, stop it or I will refuse to serve you. Sometimes she stopped, sometimes she got cut off. A few times she even got 86 ed. Why? Because a friend is there for you, even if you are not around. Because a true friend doesn't let anyone put down, belittle, bully or even make constant passive-aggressive remarks. Honestly, I have to say ESH, except OP. A person can only take so much before they snap. Your friend group sounds like a bunch of passive jellyfish. Nobody is going to be like that, to anyone I care about, in my presence. Update. Hey again Reddit, just wanted to post a quick update since a lot happened. Well, I'm still kind of processing it, but it feels worth sharing. So, after I left the barbecue, and posted, I got a flurry of texts from mutual friends mostly along the lines of, damn, that was awkward but also overdue. Apparently, everyone noticed Sophie's digs throughout the day, and more than one person told me they were surprised I lasted as long as I did before finally saying something. Jake, for what it's worth, hasn't said a single word to me. Not an apology, not a, hey, that was a lot, nothing. Radio silence. But I did get a very long, very dramatic message from Sophie last night basically accusing me of trying to sabotage her relationship and calling me emotionally manipulative. I didn't respond. I don't see the point, especially because here's the kicker. I've actually been seeing someone for a few months now. His name's Daniel. He's thoughtful, mature, low drama, and most importantly, not still caught up on an ex. We've been keeping things fairly private while we found our footing, but last night after the chaos of the barbecue I posted a pic of us to the friend group chat. Just us smiling at a coffee shop. Totally normal. Within the hour, Sophie left the chat. Make of that what you will. Anyway, Daniel has been incredibly supportive about everything and honestly, I think seeing that photo, and realizing that I have 100% moved on, was the final crack in whatever illusion Sophie was holding on to. One of our mutual mentioned that things were not going well between her and Jake. Which, yeah. That tracks. So yeah, I don't feel bad about what I said anymore. Maybe I could have been softer, but sometimes the truth is sharp and people don't like how it feels. Thanks again for all the response. Reading through the comments really helped me feel like I wasn't just being petty or reactive. I'm good now. Actually, I'm better than good. And Daniel brings me coffee and emotional security, so that's a win. Top comments. Commenter 1, I'm glad your friends are on your side. Sophie is pathetic. I'm so curious how your ex will react to the news of Daniel. Commenter 2, it wasn't fair of Sophie to take out her frustrations on you. At least, they're now dealing with it. Commenter 3, she probably thought that you were the one sending him mixed signals and the reason he was kinda flip-flopping. The picture have shown that it was all him. Maybe as opposed to what he was telling her. So she had no reason to stay with him. Or maybe she was only there as a friend to try to make you jealous and come back to him. Stories number 11. Fiancé, 31M, no longer wants to attend my best friend's wedding because I, 27F, am going to be in it. Need advice on how to move forward. I, 27F, am American, and my fiancé, 31M, is Australian. We met when I moved to Australia and haven't been to the US together since we got together. My best friend is getting married in 2026 in St. Thomas. We've been planning a 3-week trip to the US around it, Vegas, Hawaii, introducing him to my friends and family, and then attending the wedding together. It's going to be a small destination wedding, mostly close friends and family, with a ceremony and reception at an Airbnb where we might also stay. A few days ago, my friend let me know I'll be her maid of honor bridesmaid. I'm so honored and excited. But when I told my fiancé, everything changed. He now says he no longer wants to go. He said he was looking forward to the trip until he found out I'd be in the wedding, and now he feels anxious about being alone during the ceremony and doesn't want to attend at all. I recognize that social anxiety is real and that this situation might feel overwhelming for him, but this wedding is incredibly important to me. It's also when I plan to introduce him to so many people who've never met him. I feel hurt and disappointed. I want to support him, but I also feel like he's being unfair by backing out completely. We're clashing emotionally, he's feeling overwhelmed, and I'm feeling heartbroken. How do we move forward from this? Is there a way to compromise so we both feel supported? Stories number 12. Aita for calling the cops on my brother after he stole from me. Me, 19F, and my brother, 17M, have never really gotten along. He's always been kinda reckless, but lately, he's been getting worse. Sneaking out, lying, and now, stealing. A few days ago, I noticed some money missing from my room. I don't keep a ton of cash, but I had about $300 saved up for something important. Gone. At first, I thought I misplaced it, but then I checked my brother's room, and guess what? Found some of my bills crumpled up in his drawer. I confronted him, and he straight up denied it. Even when I showed him the money, he said he found it outside. Like, bro. Be serious. I told my parents, expecting them to back me up, but they brushed it off like, he's just a kid, he probably needed it for something. That pissed me off, so I told my parents either he gives it back or I call the cops. They didn't take me seriously, so I actually did it. Not to get him arrested or anything, just to scare him. The cops came, talked to him, and made him give the money back. They didn't charge him, just gave him a warning. Now my family is mad at me, saying I took it too far and should have just let my parents handle it. But they weren't doing anything, and I'm tired of him getting away with stuff. Aita for calling the cops on my own brother, 0. Additional information from OOP. Wild how I'm the bad guy for expecting basic respect and not wanting my money to mysteriously disappear. Guess accountability is optional in this family. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Sometimes tough love is the only way to make someone wake up. You didn't ruin his life, you might have just saved it. Commenter 2, NTA. You did give your parents an opportunity to handle it. They chose not to. So they can't really justify complaining that you turned elsewhere to handle it. Commenter 3, NTA. Your brother stole from you, and your parents refused to do anything about it. If they had handled it properly, you wouldn't have had to call the cops. You didn't press charges, you just made sure he faced some consequences. Hopefully, this will teach him a lesson before he escalates to worse things. Update 1. So things have been awkward as hell at home. My parents are still acting like I'm the villain, and my brother has been giving me the silent treatment, which honestly isn't the worst thing in the world. But here's where it gets interesting. Turns out, I wasn't the only one he was stealing from. A few days after everything went down, my mom pulled me aside and admitted that some of her money had gone missing too. She thought she had just misplaced it, but now she's realizing it was probably him. I didn't say I told you so even though I really wanted to, but I just gave her a look and was like, yeah exactly. Now my parents are finally taking it seriously, but instead of being mad at him, they're talking about how he's just going through a phase and how they don't want to be too hard on him. Meanwhile, he's still stomping around the house acting like I ruined his life. At this point, I've just distanced myself completely. I'm keeping my door locked, not leaving anything valuable around, and honestly counting down the days until I can move out. Didn't expect this to get so much attention, but I really appreciate all the comments. It helped me see that I wasn't overreacting, and honestly, it's been reassuring to know I wasn't crazy for standing my ground. So do I feel bad? Nope. Do I regret it? Still no. If no one else is gonna hold him accountable, at least now he knows I will. Additional information from OOP. Didn't think this would blow up like it did, but glad to know I wasn't overreacting. Definitely keeping my guard up from now on. Thank you guys. Top comments. Commenter 1, good for you for standing your ground. Unaddressed phases become ways of life. He doesn't know it, but you're the only one actually interested in helping your brother. Commenter 2, tell your parents that if they refuse to teach him accountability themselves, the penal system will be doing that job for them in a few years. Your brother is 17. Barring some form of severe brain damage, he knows stealing is wrong. Stealing is only going to be a phase if he is taught consequences now. Commenter 3, also, people need to stop acting like teenagers are just kids, as if they simply don't know any better and can't help it. The fuck they can't. Yes, they're still technically not adults, but that doesn't mean they can do what they want without consequences. They're old enough to know better. Hell, 10 is old enough to know better much of the time. I'm just so sick of enabling parents. Update 2, so things have escalated a bit since my last update. My parents finally started taking things more seriously, but not in the way I expected. Instead of actually holding my brother accountable, they're now in full-on damage control mode, acting like this whole thing is just a family issue that got blown out of proportion. A few days ago, my dad sat me down and basically told me that I need to let this go, because my brother is apparently really struggling, and I made things worse by involving the cops. He said my brother feels like I betrayed him, and that I should be the bigger person and try to fix things. Meanwhile, my brother. Yeah, no. He hasn't apologized, hasn't even acknowledged what he did. He's just sulking around the house acting like I ruined his life. And now he's trying to turn things on me, telling family members that I overreacted and made things way worse than they were. I've completely checked out at this point. My parents are clearly more worried about keeping the peace than actually teaching him consequences, and I'm just tired of it. I'm looking at moving out sooner than I planned because honestly, I don't feel like being in a house where my own stuff isn't safe and I'm the bad guy for expecting basic respect. Not sure if I'll update again, but yeah, that's where things stand. Didn't think calling out theft would turn into a full family drama, but here we are. Additional information from OOP. Didn't think standing up for myself would turn into a whole family crisis, but I guess expecting basic respect was too much to ask. Top comments. Commenter 1, they're saying to keep it in the family, right? I'm not seeing any specifications of immediate family. Maybe talk to some extended family, and have them give their opinions as well. Commenter 2, turn it around. Ask dad, is it a bigger problem if brother learns it is okay to steal, or if he's hurt from a little valid feedback? Or tell dad if he feels it's no big deal, can he give you the $300? Wake dad up. See if he likes losing $300. Commenter 3, your parents are enabling him, and it's only gonna get worse if they keep making excuses. Moving out sounds like the best move for your own sanity. Commenter 4, I'm so sorry it's come to this for you. But, you're correct in that your parents care more about their reputation and your brother than his criminal behavior. Individuals such as your brother won't be able to get away with their crimes for that long. Continue with your plans and make sure your brother doesn't steal anything else from you and your parents don't withhold your essential documents from you. Good luck. I hope everything works out for you. Update 3. So I ended up having another conversation with my parents, mostly because I couldn't keep walking around the house with this giant cloud over everything. I told them again that I'm not trying to ruin anyone's life, I just want to live in a home where my stuff doesn't get touched and I'm not made out to be the problem for setting a boundary. My mom kind of softened a bit and admitted they might have been too quick to defend him, but she also said they're just scared of pushing him further away. I get that, I really do. But I told her protecting him doesn't mean ignoring the things he's doing. My brother still hasn't apologized directly, but he did stop talking shit about me to the rest of the family. I think someone, maybe my aunt, told him he was being immature and making it worse for himself. Since then, things have been quieter. Not better, just less tense. I've started looking at part-time jobs and roommate listings so I can move out sooner. I don't hate my family, I'm just tired of being treated like I'm the one who crossed a line for wanting basic trust and honesty in my own home. Anyway, I didn't think I'd post a third update, but I guess I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who helped me feel like I wasn't insane. Still kinda sucks, but at least now I know I'm not alone. And who knows, if things get weirder, maybe there'll be a fourth. Top comments. Commenter 1, moving out sounds like the healthiest option. You deserve peace, not tension in your own home. Commenter 2, OOP, tell your mom that she doesn't have to worry about pushing him away, because in less than 3 years, he will be in prison and won't be able to get away from them. Tell her that they have created this monster, so don't act the victim when the spoiled, enabled, and entitled boy becomes a spoiled, enabled, entitled man. But when you are an adult, it isn't just a boys will be boys thing. You steal, you go to jail. Tell her that this is the future they have made for their son. If you don't want to tell her that, show her this thread and we will tell her. Prison is full of mamas misunderstood good boys that the world is just being mean to. Commenter 3, I'm hoping no more drama but that you update when you move out. The truth is that adults and parents do make mistakes. Yours very much have. More than anything they have failed your brother. Kids need structure and to understand that actions have consequences. He is going to be a shitty person who gets himself in very serious trouble if he continues on this path. Your parents can't protect him from the reality of the world. You can't protect your parents or your brother from what will happen to him via his own bad choices. But you don't have to subject yourself to this nonsense. You can save and move out. Make your own good choices. Obviously NTA, and I hope you are able to find some roommates and move out soon. Update 4. It's been about a month since my last update and honestly, I was hoping things would just settle. Spoiler, they didn't. Things have been quiet on the surface, but super passive-aggressive underneath. My brother is still doing the bare minimum to avoid direct conflict with me, but he hasn't apologized properly. Just a few fake nice moments, like offering me a snack or acting like everything's chill. No actual accountability. The real twist. My mom recently asked me if I'd consider moving past it and trying to rebuild the relationship. She said he's maturing and feeling isolated because of the distance between us. I said sure, I'll move past it, as soon as someone acknowledges that what he did was straight up wrong and not just a dumb teenage mistake. She didn't really respond to that. Just got quiet and walked away. At this point I've got a move-out date. I found a small place and signed the lease last week. I haven't told my brother yet, and I'm low-key curious how he'll react. I think part of him still believes I'm bluffing. Anyway, didn't think I'd still be updating a month later, but this whole thing has turned into the longest slow-burn family drama I've ever seen. Appreciate everyone who stuck around and reminded me I'm not the villain for expecting basic trust and boundaries. I'll update if anything wild happens when I move out. Fingers crossed it's uneventful, but with my family? Who knows? Top comments. Commenter 1, he's not maturing or he would have apologized and taken accountability. Your mom is still enabling him, still blaming you for what happened. The sooner you move out and limit or go NC with your mom, brother, father, and anyone siding with them the better. They do not respect you at all. Commenter 2, NTA. Stick to your boundaries. Make sure you don't allow your brother in your new place. Edit to add, don't tell your parents' brother where you live. Your parents should be ashamed of their actions as well as your brothers. Your brother is not mature. He's a thief. Your parents are teaching him that it's okay to take something because he wants it. Looking at his actions, sounds like he has a drug addiction. Commenter 3, NTA. Don't give a spare keys to your parents or honestly your new address. Now that you're out of the house, your brother may think there is no reason why he can't steal from you again. Don't give him the opportunity. Get a camera doorbell, they make holders for renters, and give your parents a P.O. box, let them forward you mail there. I fear now that you moved out they know you're serious and the pressure to let it go will increase. That's why not letting them know where you live is a plus. Let their harassment stay confined to calls and texts. The plus side is with you gone, he only had your parents and the neighbors to steal from, and once that starts happening they can really deny there is a problem, and I doubt the neighbors will let it go either. Stories number 13. Aita for defending my husband to my ex in front of our kids. I, 33F, am married to my husband, James, 28M. We got married a year ago and I'm a couple months pregnant. I have 2 daughters, 13F and 10F, with my ex, Trevor, 33M. James is a teacher at our youngest daughter's school and taught her his first year teaching 3 years ago. Right when Trevor and I broke up, he cheated on me. I hired him to tutor my daughter that summer and he and I wound up dating and eventually marrying. He and Trevor are very different and do not get along, although James tries. I can tell he doesn't like Trevor. Trevor is constantly making barbs at James for being not a real man, which I hate, but James lets roll off him. Trevor has our daughters every other weekend, although he could have had every other week if he'd wanted, but he said he was too busy. James has really become much more of a fixture to them as a father figure, and they absolutely love him, and he loves them. Sunday evening, when Trevor and his current girlfriend were dropping them off, Trevor told them he was sorry they had to go from a house with a mom and dad to 2 moms, and I lost it with him. I told him he was projecting for not being able to take care of them, and that James proves every day he is more of a man and a better father than Trevor ever has been. My daughters were there, which they probably shouldn't have been, but I'm also so tired of them hearing Trevor just belittle James. Trevor just got really quiet and left, but since then he, his GF, and his mom have all been texting me calling me an asshole and terrible mother for talking to him like that in front of our kids. Stories number 14. Aita if I 26M ask my GF 24F why she only gets the largest things at restaurants and doesn't finish them. So I have been dating Cass for about 4 months now. I feel like we've gotten into a very good rhythm of things, and I've enjoyed every date with her. The only thing I question is whenever we go have dinner at a restaurant. No matter where we are, Cass will just buy the biggest plate, like a platter, but throughout the dinner we'll just poke at her meal while we talk. By the time the check is cleared, the majority of the plate is still there and Cass takes it home. The issue isn't money. Even if Cass gets something expensive, I will just minimize my meal to stay within budget. The issue is just that, I'm starting to feel a certain way having dinner with Cass just for her to barely eat anything but take the rest home. Why ask for so much food if she knows she won't finish? Is there an issue at home where she needs to take extra food? Is she not actually hungry and just agreeing to have dinner for something else? As a boyfriend, I'm comfortable with giving a helping hand when she needs it. But I'm not sure if I'm overthinking, or maybe crossing a boundary we haven't reached yet. Is this something where I should just be upfront and ask her about? Comments. Commenter 1. Many women, including me, were trained to eat like a bird in front of men. I rejected this intentionally as a girl, preferring the cool, guy's girl attitude that I could eat with gusto and drink you under the table and still be pretty hot. But on dates and at lunch interviews with men that I wanted to impress, I could easily eat only a few bites of my very dainty salad even when starving. I'd then inhale my leftovers as soon as I was home. Reply. I feel like this might be the issue. I should have mentioned it in the post, but thinking back on it, she has never suggested we eat together. Last night we had our movie date, and we shared my popcorn and I snuck in her favorite snack. Cass held the bucket and was pretty much eating it when I wasn't reaching for it. She was about to go home, and I asked if she would have dinner with me. Cass has never asked if I could take her to dinner or anything like that. I'm the one who wants to eat, so I'm leaning towards that she just doesn't want me to see her eating, or she just might not have enough food at home. Wibta if I 26M cancelled my ex's 24F birthday present. April 9th, 2025. Hey everyone, so I posted on here a few weeks ago about my then GF, Cass. So as a mini update to that dilemma, she was having food issues at home. I offered to help and she accepted. However, it doesn't really matter. She ghosted me 2 weeks later. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't hurt, but for the most part I've moved on. We had a short-lived romance, and for what it was I liked it. And I'm not going to ask why she would do something like that. The main issue I'm having is about a gift I got for her birthday. Cass has always wanted to go to the Met Opera but couldn't because tickets were too expensive for her. Since we had been dating for 2 months by that point, I was feeling pretty good about things. I liked Cass, and I expected our relationship to last after her birthday. So I bought her a ticket. I only bought one for her since it would be on a day that I would be at work. I added her to the email, so she also got the QR code for the ticket. She was very grateful at the time, but never mentioned it again, so I honestly forgot. As I was removing her from my socials, I noticed that she had posted a story on Facebook about her early birthday present. How she was so excited to go, and couldn't believe it was happening. I rarely go on Facebook, so I never noticed it when she had posted it. Then I saw the price for the ticket was still there, $224. Not going to lie, I got a bit salty about that kind of money going to someone who just vanished. I checked the website, and of course there are no refunds. The only option they had was to exchange it for another show. The opera isn't something that interests me, and I don't know anyone that would want to go. But part of me is tempted to just exchange the ticket to something else out of spite. I know Charlotte loves when people are petty, it's why I subscribed, but it feels really mean to just pull the rug out from under Cass. It's something she's always wanted to go see. Maybe it's because there are still some feelings there. Or maybe because it's just genuinely awful to do. Wibta. Comments. Commenter 1. If she really ghosted you out of the blue, you could change it and not be the a-hole. You'd be kinda petty, but that's okay sometimes, winky face. IMO, you don't owe anything to someone who treats you like yesterday's leftovers. But, if there is more behind the ghosting you're not telling us, you should not. Reply. Finally decided to get around to looking at the responses. As far as I'm aware there isn't anything more to the ghosting. Around 2 weeks ago she started being a bit more distant. Messages would be left on read, short responses, heart emojis stopped, no more good morning and good night. She cancelled on a date night. 2 days later, find out I'm blocked when I tried to plan another one. We've actually never had a fight for the almost 5 months we dated. Final update. Hey everyone, so since I got so much support in the last post I thought you at least deserved to know how it all ended. So I took the last few days to think things over. And well, turns out I didn't need to. The needle dropped on the whole ghosting situation with Cass. She was talking to someone else when she ghosted me. Many of my friends suggested this at first, that she found a better offer and took it. Her Instagram was the last thing I didn't remove her from. After that whole story on her Facebook, I decided to stay followed on her feed just in case I learned anything. Yeah, she pretty much started posting out at nice restaurants. Lots of vague love posts, and styling her hair like when we first started talking. She unfollowed a lot of people, including me. And she puts a date with heart emojis on it. The date? 3 days after her last text to me, today she posted a picture, kissing a guy. Any lingering feelings of guilt died. I called Cass, wanting to just be direct. I told her that I was actually unsure what to do with the gift, saying it wouldn't be appropriate for me to give someone an expensive gift when they have a new boyfriend. She got a bit annoyed, saying I gave it to her when we were dating. That I shouldn't hold a grudge. I said, is it really holding a grudge when I just found out you were cheating on me? Cass lost it, saying that I was stalking her posts and coming to wild conclusions. I countered that was all I could really do when she ghosted me. She said that's just how she does things since a breakup is messy, and she's had bad experiences in the past. Then the petty language started coming out. That her new boyfriend was more able to support her. That he was focused on the grind, while I'm working myself to death to barely make ends meet. He can take her out almost every day while I had to work around my schedule. I work in healthcare, and if you've ever worked in a hospital you know it's long hours. I countered that I gave her all my free time, and if she had problems with our relationship she could have talked to me. I ended the call saying her boyfriend could buy her the ticket instead. I exchanged the ticket for one to Carmen, and gave it to my mom as an early Mother's Day gift. Did I jump to conclusions? Maybe. You can tell me if I'm in the wrong, since I actually did it. Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. Yay. That was so satisfying to read. Love the update. You are way too nice to even call her up and let her know when you could have just done it. In the end, you did the right thing and I'm so happy for you. You would be the to yourself if you didn't. She sounds like an entitled vetch. You dodged a bullet. P.S. You work in the healthcare, you a tough cookie. Let me just remove my hat for ya. I just want to say we appreciate you. Your job alone is hard, you deserve to find someone who will understand you and support you. Keep being amazing. Reply. I definitely appreciate your kindness. Will not act like I'm a beacon of maturity and compassion. I am honestly fuming right now, and there was a good amount of swearing at the end of that phone call. 5 months of my life wasted, all that money I could have used on anything else. Not to mention all the other feelings that come with learning that I was cheated on. To rub salt on the wound, Cass told me that at least she had fun. Good to know that's what our relationship amounted to. Stories number 15. Aita for not giving my dad's cabin to my stepbrother because he's going through a rough time. So my 28F dad passed away last year and left me his cabin in the woods. It's a pretty simple place, nothing fancy, just a small cabin like 2 hours from where I live now. We used to go there all the time growing up, just the two of us. He built most of it himself and left it to me in his will. My mom remarried when I was 15 to this guy Ken, and he has a son, Luke, 31M. Luke and I never really got along. He was always kind of smug and made fun of my dad for being quiet and off the grid. My dad kept his distance, and Luke never came with us to the cabin. He actively hated going outside and once called my dad a hermit with a hammer. Anyway, now Luke is having a rough time. He lost his job, his fiancée left him, and he's currently living with my mom and Ken. That sucks, and I feel for him, but now my mom is asking me to consider giving Luke the cabin. Not loaning, giving. Her words were, he needs it more than you. You hardly go there, and he's trying to rebuild his life. It could give him a fresh start. I honestly thought she was joking. I told her flat out, no. That cabin is mine. It was Dad's. Luke didn't even like him. Then Ken got involved and said I was being heartless. Luke texted me basically saying, I'll take it off your hands if it's too much responsibility. Like he's doing me a favor. Now they're acting like I'm this greedy monster. Mom won't speak to me unless I reconsider. Luke made a super passive-aggressive post about how some people only value property more than healing. I don't think I'm wrong, but the guilt tripping is intense. Aita for not handing over something my dad gave me just because Luke is struggling now. Stories number 16. Whipped for considering suing my boyfriend's friends for destroying my purse. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. I recently bought an authentic designer purse. I realize the privilege I have to do so, but I work an extremely demanding job that requires I work very long hours and get compensated well to do so. It's something I've wanted my entire life, and I've finally reached a point where I can afford to do it. Not super relevant, but I grew up poor, so in a way it was cathartic to me to buy something frivolous that I really wanted, which is partially why it means so much to me. I've had this purse less than a month and have only worn it out twice, once to a work event and once to a nice dinner we went on with my boyfriend and his friends this last weekend. We were hanging out at my boyfriend's friend's house after the dinner and I hung my purse on the chair behind me. At this point I trusted everyone in the house and wasn't really concerned about it. We've all been hanging out for years now. We moved to another room right next to the one we were in to play a game. When I came back, my purse was right where I left it. When we left for the night, I grabbed it and thought it felt heavier but didn't look inside of it until I went to unload it when we got home. For some reason, someone thought it would be funny to put uncovered red Jell-O shots into my purse with white interior where they proceeded to leak. The entire inside was stained a splotchy pink shade, and to say I was livid is an understatement. We're all between 30 to 60, we have some older folks that are family friends of people in the group that hang out with us sometimes, so everyone is old enough to not do something so stupid. I attempted to clean it to no avail. My boyfriend reached out to the group chat that has about half of his friends in it and asked if anyone knew who had done it. One person admitted they saw someone do it and told us who. It was one of the older members of the group who is known for messing with people's belongings, but never to this degree. For example, when we went swimming last summer he filled the pockets of my shorts up with Chex Mix. It was annoying but didn't really damage anything. Also, no one really finds his antics funny. In my opinion, it's common sense to refrain from putting red goo, that turns liquidy when warm, into a white bag, but he claims that he was just being funny and didn't think they would leak. I asked him for money to either repair the bag or replace it and he claims he does not have that much money. He says the bag looked cheap, so he didn't think it would be a big deal even if the shots had leaked. I know that he has ample assets, multiple sports cars, $1 million home, etc., and can find a way to compensate me for what he had damaged. When I pointed this out, he told me that it was my fault for bringing around an expensive bag and that something could have easily been spilled on it instead. While I would have been upset if that had been the case, obviously, I wouldn't have been anywhere near as upset because this had been done intentionally and is now being blamed on me. I can take responsibility and say I shouldn't have left it out of my sight, but I knew no one in the house would steal it or the contents in it, and I never would have thought someone would fill it with sticky red goo regardless of how expensive or cheap it was. I told him that he needed to find the money or I would be suing him for the damages, and a couple people in the group think I'm going too far. My boyfriend is thankfully as angry as I am, and I don't want this situation to come at the cost of any of his friendships, but I also want compensated for my property that I worked my butt off for. Wibta, if I take legal action, or should I try some other method to recoup my losses? I personally don't think so because this wasn't an accident, but some people seem to think I'm going too nuclear. Update: I had my appointment to have the bag looked at. They would be able to mostly repair it, however it's likely that the liquid seeped through the lining and may have damaged the bag beyond repair. They wouldn't know until they really got into it. Even so, the smell of crusty old Jell-O and liquor would likely linger and deteriorate any resale value the purse may have in the future. For these reasons, I will be going after him for the entire value of the purse. Thank you to the person who mentioned that this could hurt resale value in the future. I didn't even think of this. I asked the person that looked at it and she told me the severity of the staining and odor definitely would. Thankfully it is not a limited edition bag and I can currently buy a new one. Hopeful that this doesn't change anytime soon as I really loved my bag. I am going to reach out to my attorney in the morning to see if he can help me or refer me to someone who can. I can update again with what they say, but I am pretty sure I have a strong leg to stand on. To answer some common questions: why don't I kick this guy from the friend group? Easiest answer here is that it isn't my friend group. This man is a family friend of one of my boyfriend's friends. He truthfully isn't around much, but it seems like whenever he is he causes problems, so I'm not sure why he is still invited, even occasionally. My boyfriend and I made it clear we would never be in the same place as him ever again, which kind of puts the ball in everyone else's court. 2. Does he not like you or does he torment everyone? He has a weird fixation with me mostly, but he does also torment most of the women in the group. I mentioned this in the comments but it may have gotten buried, but during my first interaction with him I had left my phone out while I had quickly gone to the bathroom. At some point he snatched my phone up, went somewhere else in the house, took a picture of his butthole, and replaced my phone in the same spot. I found the picture a few hours later when I opened my camera roll to show someone my dog, and my boyfriend asked me horrified why I had a hairy butthole in my phone. I was mortified and had no explanation, and it wasn't until this man was hammered that he admitted he did it. We were all disgusted and he stopped being invited for a while because my boyfriend refused to be around him. Last year he started being invited again and immediately started pranking me in harmless ways. He liked to do this with new girlfriends, especially I noticed, and I am one of the newest in the friend group, even though it's been a few years now. One of my boyfriend's friends started dating a new girl and she got a similar treatment, but nothing as severe. He really likes to tamper with our clothes mostly. I don't know what the motive is, but he doesn't usually mess with the guys, just the women. 3. Did he steal anything? No. As I had mentioned, he's wealthy and I don't think he'd really do anything like that. He doesn't seem like the type to get a thrill from theft, rather he wants to annoy women. I only kept my credit card, a small amount of cash, car keys, and a sentimental keychain in the bag. Everything was sticky and coated in goo, but everything was also there. Small edit. A lot of people have taken to accusing my boyfriend of some nasty things, setting this up, not defending me, being spineless, etc. I just wanted to take a second to say none of this is true and is mentioned throughout the post. The first instance of this man being weird, my boyfriend screamed at him about how what he had done to me was awful, whether or not he saw it as a joke. We left immediately after and he told his friends that he did not want to be invited when that man was around. It took several years for it to blow over and for his friends to attempt to have us all together again for a birthday party. My boyfriend made it clear that if he ever did anything to harm me again that would be it, and he promised he wouldn't. After all of that situation, the offender did calm down towards me a lot until now, which is why I didn't feel that worried about him and was comfortable leaving my purse out of my sight for 30 minutes. My boyfriend not physically assaulting this man isn't him being spineless, it's him being mature and realizing that hurting him was only going to result in him getting charges that would impact his career and life. Now that this has all happened, my boyfriend has defended me and said we will do everything we need to in order to get me a new purse. It was me that was worried about it causing him to lose friends, as I know this group is very important to him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I would likely go to small claims over this since he obviously can pay. He's a damn adult responsible for his actions. I think it's relevant to know the amount you're talking about. Designer could be $300 or $3,000, or much more. Reply, it was $2,800. My understanding is if it can be cleaned, costs would be around $400, if it cannot, repairs could be anywhere from $700, it just needing to be replaced. I am taking it in to be looked at tonight and I'll have a more solid answer. Commenter 2, NTA, what kind of grown man still plays pranks on people? And if you're going to play some kind of dumb destructive prank, at least have the decency to back it up if you ruin something that belongs to someone. What if they had spilled all over the interior of your car? Reply, I'm shocked it didn't because they were borderline liquid by the time I found them. The fact it didn't soak through to the exterior of the bag or on the friend's furniture or in our car is shocking, but speaks to the quality of the interior of the bag, I suppose. OOP on if the guy is single and playing pranks on women only. Reply, he's married, though I've never met his wife, so she could be made up, but I doubt it. I can only assume she enjoys the money he brings in and ignores the fact that he's a jackass. Or maybe she's the same way. Who knows? Additional information from OOP regarding her boyfriend. Reply, okay, a lot of crazy accusations have been made about my boyfriend here, but this is the craziest. My boyfriend does not have any close relationship with this guy, let alone some secret rendezvous. I am also very confident that my partner isn't gay, but even on the off chance that I somehow entirely misgauged his sexuality in the several years we've been together, I wouldn't imagine he would be having a sexual relationship with an overweight, immature, stinky 50-year-old man. For this theory to shake out, he must also be sleeping with another man in the friend group, as he has bullied another girlfriend in a similar manner. He had taken and hit her phone and made her think she lost it. Once she panicked for a while searching, he gave it back. Other things may have happened too because we aren't usually around when he is, but that's one story I heard from others. This situation is obviously more extreme, but I don't think that it was really intended to be as malicious as it was. Maybe I'm being naive, but knowing this guy, I think he genuinely thought in his simple, drunken mind that they wouldn't leak and it would be funny when I got home and found a bunch of shit in my purse, and it blew up well beyond what he thought it would, and now he has to part with his money to make it right. But overall, my boyfriend has done all I'd ever expect him to. He's freaked out on the guy whenever something happens. He's set the firm boundary that we won't be around if he is ever again unless it's in court, regardless of circumstance, and anyone who's pushed back on me taking him to court has been told it isn't their business. At this point everyone has respectfully stepped away and left us to deal directly with him. Whether or not my boyfriend will ever forgive the people who pushed back is up to him, but relationships are strained from all of this, and my relationship with my partner isn't one of them. And I'm very confident he isn't gay, lol. Update. For those who haven't seen the previous post, I will give a quick summary. My boyfriend's friend, I use this term lightly, my boyfriend never really cared for him, but he was kind of in the friend group, likes to prank women by messing with their belongings. He put red jello shots into my new designer purse, which proceeded to leak and ruin the purse. See my post history for the full rundown. A lot of people asked for an update, so here it is. Update. I got a quote for repair, but it was likely futile as the smell of cheap liquor would likely remain, even if only faintly. Additionally, as a kind commenter pointed out, doing so drastically affects resale value should I ever choose to sell it. For these reasons, I was pursuing him for a replacement purse. I laid all of the information out in writing to him and had my boyfriend hand-deliver it to him. To summarize, I broke the cost of the replacement down to the penny and threatened legal action should he not replace what he damaged. The next day, one of my boyfriend's other friends showed up with a check made payable to me for the entire amount. I'm sure you all wish it was more exciting than that, but I for one am just glad it's over. The only thing that could be seen as funny is the memo line on the check, which was, "See you next Tuesday, winky face." Funny. I deposited the check and it cleared, so thankfully he didn't try to play any additional games by having it bounce. I think he knew I was serious and didn't want any more costs adding up should I take him to court. So yeah, that's it. One other quick thing about my boyfriend, since most people didn't read the end of my OG post. People accused him of so many nasty things. Setting up the whole thing, not protecting me enough. One person even theorized that my boyfriend was having a homosexual affair with this guy. None of these things is true. My boyfriend really isn't close with this guy. He's been around him occasionally, but they never hang out 1v1 or talk outside of when he's in the big group. He's gotten into arguments with him regarding how he treated me in the past and was firm with his stance on us not being around him anymore after this incident. It seems like people think that if he's not resorting to violence, he's a bad guy, but I personally think the opposite. We both have good careers, and him punching this guy would have just led to an arrest and charges, and we don't want that. My boyfriend is a great guy that stood by me and helped me with all of this and was definitely not involved. So yeah, that's all. Thanks for following. Relevant comments. OOP and her friends should exclude the guy from their friend group. Reply, this guy is no longer invited to group gatherings. A few may hang out with him 1v1, but a majority of people are outraged by his behavior. He's now banned from group gatherings. My boyfriend at the beginning of this said we would no longer be around him, period. OOP on what brand her purse is. Reply, it was a Chanel. OOP on why it took so long for the group to be able to exclude the guy from their group. Reply, it really did. I talked to another girl in the group, other newest girlfriend that I had mentioned in OG post, and she said that he has been, kind of creepy towards her. Overall, the women of the group are happy. One of the guys are bummed out that he can't come around anymore, but they can hang out with him 1v1 if they care that much. Stories number 17. Aita for buying my sister a super expensive gift for her 40th birthday. I'd like to get some outside opinions on a situation that's gotten a bit tense. I, 35M, have been doing very well for myself lately after a recent promotion. One of my personal goals is to purchase a specific Rolex, and as part of that process, I've been trying to build a relationship with a luxury watch dealer. My sister, 40F, turned 40 last month, and since she's my only sister and we're very close, I wanted to give her something special. She loves designer items and has always appreciated that kind of thing. So for this milestone birthday, I got her a Cartier watch, around $13,000. This is very out of the norm. Typically, I spend about $200 on birthday gifts for both her and my brother-in-law, 44M. The issue started after her birthday. My BL made a comment about how he hoped for a designer watch for his birthday too, and I laughed because I assumed he was joking. Turns out, he wasn't. I later found out he was actually upset about the difference in gifts. For his birthday, which was 2 months before hers, I got him a $200 gift, and for his 40th a few years ago, I gave him a $500 steakhouse gift card. Now both he and my sister are upset. She said the gift was disrespectful to their relationship and too unequal, and while she seemed sad saying it, I couldn't tell if it was more about the tension it caused. To be clear, I wanted to do something unique and meaningful for my sister, someone I've known and loved my whole life. I'm not particularly close to my BL, and honestly, I've always had to tolerate a bit of insecure behavior from him. I didn't expect this level of drama from what I saw as a generous, one-off gift. They have asked I return the watch and get $2 6K watches. Privately, my sister has said I shouldn't have bought the watch as it's annoyed my BL very much. TLDR, got promoted, doing well, bought my sister a $13,000 Cartier watch for her 40th as a one-time special gift. BIL is upset because his gifts have been in the $200 to $500 range. Now both he and my sister think I was disrespectful. Aita, top comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Wow, so sorry your BL happened to you and your sister. What a beautiful, thoughtful and generous gift to the person you're closest to in life. I'm sure your sister is completely fuming about having to give the watch back to appease her child's tantrum. Oh ops, I mean husband. You either tell them exactly what you've said here, that this was a gesture to your sister and you won't take it back, or you take it back and give her a $500 voucher to a steakhouse to make things even. BAL doesn't get to demand an expensive watch from you, and I guarantee your sister is just trying desperately to keep the peace. Commenter 2, NTA, take the watch back and give your sister a $500 gift certificate and an apology for not honoring the code and doing the same for her. Then, end any discussion about it further. Your BAL is being a total A, and now your sister is following suit. You are not a bank. Update post. A day later, I saw a government ad about coercive control, and something just clicked. It felt like I finally had the words to describe something I'd been sensing for a long time. He's always come across as insecure and controlling, but that ad and the last post helped me see it through a different lens. I decided to call my sister. I had originally planned to talk in person, but once we got on the phone, the conversation naturally unfolded. I tried to be as kind and compassionate as I could. I told her that I've been quietly worried for a long time. That there have been signs she's in a controlling relationship, and it doesn't sit right with me anymore. Some of the things I brought up, I've never been able to see her without him around. Every lunch, birthday, even casual meetups, he must be there or we rescheduled. It's like she's never allowed her own space. She doesn't have her own money, and she makes more than him. I had gray knowledge of a listed company that was about to make an announcement, and she couldn't invest because he doesn't trust the stock market. The company went up 5x a week later. Over time, she's lost contact with all her old friends. Her entire social circle now is just him and his people. I told her it didn't seem like a healthy dynamic, that I missed the version of her who felt more free, more present, more herself. I really tried to be compassionate, but she just snapped. She brought up my past, that I dropped out of university, was a rebellious teen, smoked weed, caused our mum stress. After 2 of my best friends died in a car, I struggled for a few years and did a lot of rebellious stuff when I was 18 to 21. But it felt like a way to discredit what I was saying now. She told me I had no right to judge her life, and then said she was going no contact with me. It hurt. A lot. I didn't reach out to judge her or try to save her. I just wanted to tell her how I felt, because I love her, and I was scared for her. I hope I planted a seed. It's really hard at the moment. I feel like I lost my sister and niece forever. The sad thing is, I feel a lot of relief I don't need to see my BL again. Commenter 1, here is the thing, I think you handled this the wrong way. Right after you had an argument about a Rolex watch, you come to the table with I think you're actually in a controlling relationship. Her husband sounds like an entitled dick, to be sure. But some people are terrible when they're in a relationship and drop friends like flies. That's something you should watch out for to see if nothing else is going on. But some things you listed are not the kind of evidence you think they are. I mean, just because your sister didn't follow your advice on investing, she's being financially controlled. To a lot of people the stock market is intimidating and they want to stay far away. The fact that the stock jumped up afterwards has nothing to do with her decision in that moment. Lastly, for the people who comment, take back the watch and donate, sell, etc., you do realize that you can't take back gifts even when you have a problem with it afterwards. I mean this literally, you can ask for it back or tell her to give it back, but unless you're telling OP to steal the watch, that watch is hers. Reply, hey, I totally understand what you are saying. This is the ad that I saw on YouTube. I was trying to be concise, but the behavior was insane and I just thought it was normal for so long. I would see him gaslight her in front of me and just not listen to her. She has given me cash for things and can't transfer me money because he checks the account. She wanted to invest it in the stock market deal because it was a sure thing. I knew the CEO and the news one of the prospected sites was going to be mineable would send the shares shooting up. She just wasn't allowed to and didn't want to rock the boat. He has confronted family members for things that have been said because he reads her message and goes through her phone. She can have the watch, I don't really care about it anymore. Commenter 2, that's insider trading and illegal. Stories number 18. AITJ for accepting a prosthetic leg after cancer, even though my 11-year brother thinks it's unfair and my mum agrees with him. I, 18F, had cancer. Bone cancer. It started in my thigh and spread fast. The only way to stop it was to amputate above the knee. I was 16 when I lost my leg. I'm 18 now, and just barely putting myself back together. The last 2 years have been a whirlwind of chemo, pain, isolation, and feeling like I was just fading. I missed most of school. Missed friends. Missed being a teenager. And when it was all over, I was left with a stump, a pile of trauma, and no real plan for how to feel human again. The doctor said I was a candidate for a high-functioning prosthetic, a bionic leg. It wasn't just cosmetic. It would give me a shot at walking properly again, going to uni on my own, even being able to do stairs without crawling. It's expensive, though. The NHS covered some, but not all. That's when my mum stepped in. She said we could use part of a savings fund she'd kept for emergencies and future needs, some of which was apparently meant for my little brother, 11M. He's neurodivergent, and has always needed a bit more help. He's smart and sweet, but also very emotionally intense. My mum calls him her sunbeam, and honestly, the house has revolved around him my entire life. She helped me get the prosthetic. It changed everything. For the first time since the amputation, I could walk more than a few meters without crutches or collapsing from exhaustion. It's not perfect, but it's given me a future. Now here's where things went sideways. Last week, my little brother had what my mum calls a bad emotional day. He told her he was sad because everyone paid attention to me and I got a robot leg and he didn't get anything. He said it was unfair that I got something cool and expensive when he didn't. Instead of explaining the obvious, that I lost a leg, that this wasn't a gift, that it wasn't about fair, my mum sat me down and said maybe she shouldn't have spent so much on me without thinking of how it might affect him emotionally. I didn't know what to say. She said she regrets not waiting until he was old enough to understand. That he's very sensitive, and I need to try and see it from his side. And now I feel like the villain. For surviving. For walking again. For not being smaller, quieter, easier to ignore. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't ask to lose my leg. I didn't ask for her money. I didn't ask to be born into a family where even surviving cancer somehow feels like a competition I was supposed to lose. So, AITJ for accepting a bionic leg, knowing it came from a fund my mum also set aside for my younger brother, and knowing he's hurt by it, because right now, I feel like I'm being punished for not dying. Update. Hi again. I wasn't planning on posting a full update, but honestly, I don't even know how to process what just happened, and I need to get it out somewhere. If you didn't see my original post, quick summary, I lost my leg to cancer at 16, I'm 18 now. Got a high-end bionic prosthetic with help from my mum. My little brother, 11M, who's always been treated as the special one, got upset that I had something cool and expensive. My mum made me feel guilty for surviving. Anyway, yesterday I came home from work. I do a few shifts a week at a local cafe to save for uni. I had my prosthetic charging in my room, on its dock like I always do. It's super delicate while charging because the joints are exposed and the internal circuits are vulnerable. I found my brother in my room. He had unplugged the charger. He was trying to make it move manually, bending the knee joint, yanking the ankle around to see if it would walk on its own. I yelled at him to stop, but it was too late. The main knee motor made this awful grinding sound and then the whole leg sagged like a broken doll. He dropped it and ran downstairs crying. I just stood there holding the pieces. The leg is dead. Totally dead. Those things aren't built for rough handling. They're expensive, sensitive, custom-built to match my body. It's not something you can fix at a random shop. It has to go back to the manufacturer. Repairs cost thousands. Even assuming it's reparable, it'll take months. I went to my mum absolutely shattered, thinking at least this she'd take seriously. She cried, hugged my brother, and said, he didn't mean it. He's just curious. Then she told me, you need to be more understanding. He's only 11. It's not like he knew how important it was. I honestly don't remember much after that. I just felt myself shutting down. No apology, no promise to help fix it. No acknowledgement that without that leg, I can't walk more than a few meters without pain. That I can't go to work. That I can't go to uni like this. That I'm being dragged back to being helpless because a kid wanted to play with my body. The final blow. She said, it was in my room. Charging. In my private space. Now I'm trapped. I can't afford repairs on my own. The grant money is long gone. Insurance might cover some of it, maybe, but the deductible is massive. And my mum made it very, very clear she won't be helping again. I don't even know what to do. I feel invisible. Disposable. Like the only acceptable version of me is the one who quietly disappears into the background so her sunbeam can shine. I survived cancer. I lost my leg. I fought to be able to stand on my own again. And now it's broken because an 11-year-old thought it looked fun, and no one cares. So, I guess that's my update. Editor's note, commenters call for OOP to file a police report against mother and brother. Update 2, hi again. I didn't expect this many people to care. Honestly, just having strangers tell me I wasn't crazy or selfish meant more than I can explain. I wanted to give a final update, because a lot has happened since the last post. After my brother broke my prosthetic, and my mum basically blamed me for it, something inside me cracked. It wasn't anger, not really. It was this cold, heavy finality, like realizing a door had closed and no matter how much I knocked, nobody was going to open it. I stayed in the house a few more days. It was unbearable. Every time I saw my mum and brother, it was like nothing had happened. Like my life hadn't just been shattered again. No offer to fix the leg. No plan to replace it. Just silence. Awkward family dinners. My brother bragging about how he figured out how the robot leg worked, like it was some science project. So I made a decision. I called my dad. He and my mum are divorced. I've always been closer to him but didn't want to burden him before. I told him everything. He was furious. He showed up the next morning with his truck and said, "Pack what you need. You're coming with me." It wasn't a dramatic screaming match. I didn't even cry. I packed a duffel bag. Grabbed my schoolwork, my clothes, what was left of my dead prosthetic. I left behind photos, decorations, anything that felt too tangled up with who I used to be, before cancer, before everything. When I walked out, my mum barely looked at me. My brother cried and said, "Don't be mad at me." My mum said, "She'll come back when she calms down." She still doesn't get it. I'm not coming back. I'm living with my dad now. His house is smaller, but it's quiet. Peaceful. Safe. I can charge my broken prosthetic without fear. I can walk, limp, around without being afraid someone will sabotage me again. He's already helping me contact the prosthetic company to see about repairs or replacement. He said he'll co-sign a loan if insurance won't cover enough. He said, "You didn't survive all this just to end up crawling again." I have a lot of healing to do emotionally, too, but for the first time in 2 years, I can breathe. And when I eventually walk properly again, whether it's on this leg or a new one, it'll be because I fought for myself. Not because someone gave me permission. Thanks for reading, for caring, and for reminding me that surviving isn't selfish. Editor's note, commenters still call for OOP to file a police report against mother and brother. OOP doesn't want to. Stories number 19. Aita for refusing to change someone's baby's diaper. My wife and I have been married 10 plus years and have a few kids. Sil and her husband had a baby 2 years ago. No major complaints, they just tend to ask for people to do stuff that I would think they'd do themselves. They'll come over our house, they live an hour away, and they'll ask ahead of time if we have their kids' favorite crackers on hand. Why they don't just pack the crackers, I don't know. They are well off, money not an issue. If one of them leaves the room, they'll ask one of us, my wife or kids, to be in charge of the baby, even if the other parent is right there, just scrolling on their phone or something. But whenever I say something to my wife, she says I'm being too much. The other day, we're having a dinner at Mael's house when the baby had a poopy diaper. Sil looks at me and say in the sweetest voice, "Uncle, my name, can you change the diaper?" She frequently does this when we're there, but this was the first time I was asked. I answered, politely, "No, I'm sorry, I don't do that." "You don't do diapers?" "No, I don't do other people's kids' diapers if their mom or dad is around. I mean if I'm babysitting, sure thing, but yeah, if the parents are around, I just feel like it's their job." Sil looks like she's ready to cry. Well, I feel selfish. I smiled to try and set her at ease, not trying to make you feel any way, just telling you a boundary is all. The table got really awkward as she got up and did the diaper. Afterwards my wife blamed me for making Sil feel bad and said I could have just changed the diaper. Not trying to make anyone feel bad, but I've had 3 kids and I always took responsibility. I watched them, I packed for them, and I changed them. I'm not looking to be a secondary parent for this kid. Stories number 20. Aita for punching a girl at a party after she grabbed me. 20M, a few days ago I was at a house party with some friends. Nothing crazy, just music, drinks, and people hanging out. There was a girl there, 19F, I didn't know well, but she kept trying to talk to me and was clearly drunk. I wasn't interested, and I thought I made that obvious without being rude. At one point, I was standing in the kitchen talking to a buddy, and she came up behind me, said something I didn't catch, and then straight up grabbed my crotch. Not bumped into me. I reacted without thinking and punched her right in the face. It wasn't calculated or planned, just a reflex. She fell back, started crying, and everything stopped. People were yelling, asking what the hell happened, and I told them exactly what she did. Some people understood. Others said, "You don't hit a girl, ever." But I don't agree. I didn't ask to be touched, and if anyone, regardless of gender, puts their hands on me like that, I'm going to react. I wasn't trying to be a hero or dramatic. I was violated, and I defended myself. Now some people are calling me an asshole in group chats, and a couple even said I should be banned from future parties. I'm not losing sleep over it, but I'm wondering if I really did go too far. Stories number 21. My MIL asked my husband to subscribe to her OnlyFans to support her. My MIL, 40F, has always been very open about sex. When I first met my husband, she managed a sex toy store. About a year ago she started working towards a degree on sexual health and wellness. She nude models for a local artist, and around a month ago she started an OnlyFans account. Sex, and an openness about it, has always been an extraordinarily normal thing for her. I have absolutely nothing against her working in the sex industry. That's her forte, and I'm happy that she's doing well and enjoying what she does. However, I've had some slight concerns about it before. Not specifically her working in the sex industry, or her openness in general, more so how open she is. Especially with her own kids. For example, my husband and I started dating in high school, when she was managing the sex store. When she would come home from work, she would stop into my husband's, BF at the time, room, and hand us sample sizes of different lubes and sensation cream saying, "I thought you guys might want to try some of these." It always made us both pretty uncomfortable, and it was extremely awkward to have my boyfriend's mom hand me things to try sexually with her son. But, nonetheless, the most conversation that my husband and I ever had about it back then was about how awkward it was. Awkward, and uncomfortable enough that we never actually used these things. They just piled up on a shelf by his bed. Another time, while we were dating, fresh out of high school, we were hanging out with his sisters. His mom was still working at the sex toy shop. Once in a while, she would come home with silly toys, and on this night, she walked in with a 1-foot-long glittery dildo. She playfully whipped it around towards us like a sword. His sisters screamed and ran from her, and for a while we all laughed and had fun about it. Snatching it from one another and chasing each other around with the glitter schlag. Eventually, my husband's sister, 17 at the time, said something like, "Mom, you better not have brought that home to use. That's crazy." My husband chimed off in view, saying he didn't need to think about that. And his mom laughed and replied, "Oh no, that's silicone. You know the toys I use are glass." Again, my husband made a weird face, but didn't say anything. When we got to his room, I said that it was weird that his mom talked to her children about what she uses to get her rocks off, and he told me that she's always been way too open about things that none of them wanted to know, but that she's always been this way, so he's just gotten used to tuning it out. As time went on, I got used to the openness. And it was just that, being too open about personal stuff within conversation. However, yesterday the openness went too far. My husband and I were sitting in our living room watching TV. My husband got a text from his mom and opened it, and had a visceral reaction. He tossed his phone down, stood up, walked away from it with his hands over his face, while saying things like, "Oh my God," and "Holy shit," under his breath. Naturally, I thought that someone had died, so I started frantically asking what was wrong. All he said was that he didn't even want to open his phone again. I asked again what was wrong, and he told me that his mom just sent him pictures. I was confused, but my concern started to grow. I asked what he meant by pictures, and he hesitated before saying, "I don't want to ask you to look, but I can't open it back up to delete it myself, so I need you to." My stomach dropped. I opened his phone to see what was there and I immediately felt nauseous. There was a text that read, "Hey, I know you've always supported me and I wanted to see if you'd be willing to subscribe to my so that I can get my numbers up while I'm still getting started. Of course I don't expect or want you looking through it, but the more subscriber numbers I have, the more engagement I can get. I was also wondering if you'd be willing to share my link to some of your friends at work. Husband is in a male-dominated, blue-collar job. The pics I included are to send to them with the link, but don't tell them I'm your mom." And under it was the pictures. There were 3 nude photos of his mother. And not just naked in a mirror, or pic of the boobs kind of photos. They were full-on pornographic photos. One of her tied up in BDSM gear, one of her face down ass up on her bed, and one of her with legs spread and a dildo halfway in her mouth. My blood was boiling. I deleted what she'd sent, and my husband and I were both silent for a moment. I didn't know what else to say or do, so I broke the silence by asking, "What now?" My husband told me to block his mom on his phone, so I did. I asked if this was something his mom has done before, and he said no. He told me that in the past, she's asked if he wanted to see pictures of the drawings she posed for. He always felt a bit guilty saying no, so he simply didn't respond when she asked, and she never sent it. Then, my husband went pale and started walking to the bathroom saying he felt sick. While he was in the bathroom, I blocked his mom on my phone as well, including her social medias. When my husband came back out of the bathroom, he called his sister. He asked her if she was with their mom, and when she said no, he explained to her what all had just gone down. His sister was also speechless. Then, he asked her not to say anything to other family members right now, and explained that neither him nor I would be in contact with their mom for a while. He also told her that any time we were home for a visit, he would let his sisters know so that we could plan to see them, but that his mom would not be included in those plans from here on out. My MIL quickly realized that she was blocked on everything by the both of us, and by that night, she had the whole family blowing up our phones asking why. The constant messages haven't stopped, and so far we've just muted our phones as we don't even know what to say. How do you explain that your mother sent you her homemade porn? Update. My MIL asked my husband to subscribe to her OnlyFans to support her. Many asked for an update, so here is a small one for now. When my husband got home from work today, he did have me recover the messages for evidence should it be needed. I screenshotted the message with time stamps and each of the photos. In the photos, I scribbled over her, not so, private areas as well. After that, I sent the images to my phone and once again deleted the messages from his phone, both in his mother's texts and mine, per husband's request. This was something that several people suggested in the comments of my previous post, and believe me, we were on the same page before I even read them. My husband and I are also regulars in therapy. Both individual and couples counseling. When we got married, we agreed that doing counseling from the get-go was a good idea. Not because we have problems in our marriage, but it gives us the tools to confront issues in the future and keeps us on the same page 100% of the time. That being said, I asked my husband if he'd ever mentioned his mother's sexualness in his own therapy and he said no. Since it is how she's always been raised, he saw it as mostly normal. I suggested that this should most definitely be brought up at his next session, and he agreed. I also asked if there was anything that has happened that was a bit overboard in the past. Outside of conversation, he said that his mothers would often come home from work with new lingerie, and she would put it on and wear it around the house for the rest of the night as if they were regular clothes. When she would do this, he would either stay in his room, or go to a friend's house because it made him uncomfortable. Several people asked why there hasn't been a conversation about her talking about uncomfortable topics. There has been. When my husband and I were dating, both of us minors, she would talk to my husband about our sex life explicitly. Some of the questions she's asked him are if he likes girls who are clean-shaven, if him and I were using lube, if I preferred ribbed condoms, if we had tried certain positions, even if I preferred stimulation via clitoris or G-spot. When she would ask these things, my husband simply wouldn't answer with more than, "I don't know," but eventually he did tell her to stop. He told her that he didn't want to talk about these things with her, that he knew I wouldn't want her talking about those things with her, and that her asking this stuff made him extremely uncomfortable. Her response was to get defensive and act as if she'd been disrespected. She would say that sex was normal, that she should be able to have these conversations with her son. She even accused him of shaming her sexuality. So, he went back to ignoring the questions altogether. Some suggested that we have an in-person conversation with her about this happening. Not only do we live far away, but we aren't ready for a conversation about it, and we especially aren't ready to discuss it in person. This happened yesterday afternoon. And it will honestly be a very long time before any sort of communication happens with her at all. I did find out what she'd been telling family. She's telling them that she asked if her son supported her. Not if he would subscribe and share her content. That is why family has been reaching out and asking why we've blocked her for asking that. We will be telling family exactly what happened, but we aren't quite ready to do so yet, and that will come within the next few days. We're still processing all of what's going on. My husband has a therapy session tomorrow, and we have one together the next day. We will likely wait to talk about this with family until after our sessions. That way we can get our ducks in a row a bit more, and we are even considering legal action. Again, that is something we will bring up with our therapists before continuing. That is the main reason we took screenshot evidence. For those curious, yes. MIL is young. She had my husband at 16 to 17, and we got married young as well. Very common among my family, and in the field of work he is in. And that field of work is the military. So, him sharing his mother's content would heavily affect him. Not just a firing, that would give him a sharp, sexual harassment assault response and prevention case, and a possible dishonorable discharge which would make it extremely difficult to go on after the military. That's all I have for an update right now, but trust that there will be another. Thanks so much for all of the advice and support I received on my last post. I seriously gained such good info from the comments and it's been really helpful. Stories number 22. I, F24, and my BF, M25, had a trip planned, and the day before the trip he stops messaging me and then doesn't show up the next day to leave. Can you tell me what to do so I don't lose my mind? Edit. Thanks for telling me I'm not overreacting. This was what I needed to actually try to contact the cops. Hi. This is my first post, because I need people to tell me what to think right now. My BF and I have been dating for a little over 6 months, and we have both been really busy with work, and his dad has recently been sick, so we haven't gotten to see each other as often these last 5 to 6 weeks. So about a month ago we decided to plan a vacation during a national holiday that is going on right now. We both are early in our careers and don't make much, but we decided to use a bit of savings and fly to a nearby country and have a beach vacation, stay in some hotels, swim and the lot. We've both been so excited for this trip. He's planned most of the general stuff, which days and times we should fly, he booked all the hotels, we were going to go back and forth between some islands, and messaging me almost every day this week with weather updates and things we could do. I have been super busy with work but cut out some time earlier this week to make a more in-depth schedule so we could make the most out of our vacation and to book some stuff for us to do to ensure we would have tickets. It was all going perfectly, we were both clearly excited and had spent a good amount of money. I know he already spent at least $1,000 booking stuff, so he was very invested. Plus he is the one who initially came up with the plan and invited me. Here's where the story turns. Keep in mind our flight is at 9:10 this morning, the 30th, so we had loose plans to meet near my street and get a taxi at 7:30. Yesterday the 29th I have Wi-Fi issues at my apartment, so I don't get a "good morning" message. When we first started dating I kind of found these a bit annoying, but I've grown to love them so much, and I know it means a lot to him that I say good morning back, so I try my best to respond within a few hours, so I go to a coffee shop and see that he hasn't messaged me, which I find a little weird, but I take the opportunity to be the one to say good morning first. Something I very rarely get to do since he works a 9 to 5 and I'm remote, and I get to work on my latest project and don't think too much of it. Then a little later I send him the latest ideas for our trip and ask if he's bringing any nicer clothes if we want to do a slightly fancier dinner one night. No response. This man is always on his phone, he responds so fast sometimes it gives me whiplash, and it's been hours and nothing. But I know he's at work and I feel a little crazy for even thinking anything of it. I accidentally leave him for hours sometimes because I'm not as attached to my phone, so it's not a big deal if he doesn't respond quickly, but it is weird for him. A few hours later I send him a booking confirmation. No response. I finish my work and go home. Then 5:30 rolls around, and I know he should be off work. I message him again and no response. An hour later I message again because I'm getting worried he isn't messaging back the night before our flight. No response. I call him a couple times and he doesn't pick up, so by 7:30 I'm stressing out, and I walk over to his apartment, a 5-minute walk from mine. His bike is outside his door, but I knock for 20-ish min, and no response. I'm trying to come up with excuses. Maybe he had to work super late. He's at dinner. His phone is dead or broken. I go home and just pack and go to sleep. This morning still nothing. We plan to leave at 7:30, so I get ready as I would have and try calling him a few times. At 7:30 I go out to the street corner where we normally have met before and wait. To get to the airport in time to check in we have to leave by 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. I message and call him the whole time and nothing. At 8:01 I head to his apartment again. I'm pounding on the door, calling him, there is nothing, no response. His shoes are there that I can see, his bike outside unmoved from the day before. We have missed our flight, so I request a refund on the site while literally sitting against his door. I miraculously got the refund by the way, and I cancel any bookings I made, all of which went through. So I'm super sad about missing our vacation, but I want to emphasize that I'm not mad about the money, I was able to get it back. I'm scared at this point. He's been the perfect boyfriend, he brought flowers to my place when I got sick, he is always on time to pick me up for our dates, he plans things for us, we've never fought, I don't even think I've ever seen him annoyed with me, and I'm super annoying. The last time I saw him, the 24th. His last words to me were, "I love you," like 3 times, and then when I left me messaged that he loved being with me, and then later I got a good night message. Cut to today and suddenly it's radio silence. Nothing. I'm crying at this point and accept that he's probably not home or I would have heard him, so I go home and just cry and get pizza and wine and message him approximate 1,000 times, and try to call and nothing. I haven't met his family yet, so I don't have their contacts. I've met a couple of his friends and workmates in passing but didn't think to get any of their numbers. Why would I? I know the buildings where he works but not where his office is or the name of the company. it's not my native language and names are really hard for me to remember, so he might have told me but I forgot if he did. My point is that I have no way of contacting him. If he is in the hospital or something, no one is going to think to call me. It's the evening of the 30th as I'm tying this. I recently got back from his apartment again and his bike hasn't moved. I taped a message to his door to call me, and my contact info for anyone who goes to his apartment in case someone else might know what happened. I can't think of anything else to do and I'm terrified and crying constantly thinking the worst. I'm trying to think of what could possibly be happening. He takes his bike everywhere but it's outside his apartment unmoved. He spent a lot of money on tickets for this trip and then didn't show. Where I live you need your phone to use taxis and metros and such, and there are charging ports and repair shops everywhere, so even if his phone died the 29th or broke it would be fine by now. My best idea is that there was some sort of family emergency. Maybe with his dad who is sick, that he had to go early on the 29th to see them and after he got there he lost his phone and has been super crazy with family stuff that he hasn't had the bandwidth to go get a new phone. He also just has my contacts saved and doesn't have my number memorized. We use WeChat, so he wouldn't be able to contact me on another phone. I've cried more today than in the past year. Please tell me other things I can try, or other excuses for why he isn't responding and didn't go on the trip. I'm so scared. When I was at his apartment door tonight all I could think is, what if he fell and hit his head and he's on the other side of this door dead, but I'm not about to go full crazy and call the cops. Though I'm considering it at this point. Because the image won't leave my head and something is wrong, I can feel it. Please help me. Update, I, F24, and my BF, M25, had a trip planned and the day before the trip he stops messaging me and then doesn't show up the next day to leave. Can you tell me what to do so I don't lose my mind? He's not dead. Okay, so it's been a crazy night. For everyone asking why I hadn't already gone to the cops, it had only been a day and a half and I live in a very safe place so I didn't want to overreact. People have always told me I blow stuff up so I'm very cautious about it now. I know I probably should have gone earlier though. Anyway, I left my house and tried to find a police station but all I could find were traffic violation stations, so I called in even though I have the speech capabilities of an 11-year-old in Chinese, and told them what was going on. There was nice woman on the phone and she was very helpful and patient and sent over some officers to meet me and help me. They immediately take my case very seriously, but I still have the problem of not really having much info to give them. They asked if I had a picture of his ID and I was like, no. And so it took them a long time to find his record in the system. They were ready to go with me to do a house check but then they got an update on the system and asked if I was okay going with them to the station, and I of course was. So I get there and they ask me a few more questions like if we were fighting, no we weren't, etc. Then the officers who I'm talking to get a bit nervous and one types something into his phone and shows me a translation, and it says, your boyfriend was arrested 2 days ago. I felt so many emotions and I'm still reeling. I barely slept last night and I have been worried sick and crying all day, and so I'm relieved that he's fine, he's not dead or hurt or sick or in a coma or something. But at the same time he's fucking arrested. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it quite frankly. They couldn't tell me why he was arrested because the case isn't closed, but they took down my number and said they'd call me. But yeah. I'm so exhausted from this whole ordeal. Since I know people will ask, he's a great guy, a very nice person. He does, however, have very little regard for rules and regulations. He is an asshole driver on his bike and often cuts off cars. Also, he's not an angry person ever, but I can kind of seeing him getting in a fight if there's a good reason, at least in his own mind. I know he once got in an altercation with someone early in our relationship for cursing out his mother, but both of those mean you are held in custody until they figure out the case. If it's just a minor traffic violation or a fight he'll be out in a few days, and probably pay a fine. If it's something worse, well then maybe I shouldn't be seeing him anyway. Anyway, thanks for everyone who commented, and made me feel like I wasn't overreacting or being a crazy girlfriend. I'll update if I ever find out what he did. TLDR, he's not dead, he was arrested 2 days ago and his case is still ongoing. Update, the more I think about it, he had to have been arrested early on Tuesday. So probably not a fight or anything, maybe something he was caught on camera for. Edit, when I say he has little regard for rules I mean compared to me, it's very typical here. Bikes are illegal in this city so I'm told, and yet I almost get hit by one daily. Jaywalking is illegal and yet he and everyone else does it all the time. Also, you can get held in custody for very minor things, which is why I haven't blacklisted him quite yet. Like once a guy yelled slurs at a group of my friends and called my black friend the N-word and the police detained him for 3 days for disturbing the peace. Not saying my BF would do that, but you can get detained for parking tickets. Stories number 23. Aita for refusing to let someone check my phone after a coworker accused me of taking pictures of her. So this happened at work. I, 18M, was on my stuff normally, scrolling through my phone and watching YouTube videos, when a coworker, 17F, suddenly accused me of taking pictures of her. That caught me off guard. I told her I hadn't taken any photos and that I was just watching videos on YT, but she didn't believe me and started getting louder and kinda annoying, drawing attention from nearby coworkers. She said that if I had nothing to hide, I should just show her my photos. Luckily, the manager was nearby and came over because of the commotion. We both explained our sides. The manager said that if I wasn't hiding anything, I could just show the last 2 pictures on my phone to clear it up quickly. But the thing is that had a lot to hide that I didn't want to show, nothing illegal, creepy, or weird, and definitely nothing involving her, but still private stuff that I didn't want anyone else seeing. So I refused. I told the manager I was willing to prove my innocence in other ways, but I didn't want to compromise my privacy. As a good faith gesture, I showed my phone's battery usage stats, which clearly showed I hadn't used the camera app recently. I also suggested to check the security footage. After reviewing the footage, it showed my phone was pointed at the ground the entire time and the angle wouldn't have even allowed me to take a picture of her. So I was cleared. Even so, a few of my coworkers later told me I should have just shown the photos because she had the right to know if she was harassed. I told them that the evidence proved my innocence and there was absolutely no need to show anything. Especially not to her, someone who I've never trusted. Stories number 24. Aita for telling my stepdad he's not sharing father of the bride duties with my dad at my wedding. I'm 27F, getting married in a few months and my dad is walking me down the aisle and we're planning a 4-person dance with me and him and my fiancé and his dad. As soon as my fiancé and I decided this was what we wanted, I was upfront with my stepdad about the fact he would not be given any father of the bride duties. I knew he'd expect and want them, so I wanted to get on top of it so he and my mom couldn't accuse me of blindsiding him. He's been with my mom since I was a few months old. He always saw me and my brother, 29, as his kids. But we always saw dad as our only dad. There were a lot of fights that were kept from me and my brother as kids over this. My stepdad wanted dad to make space for him to do some of the dad things. My dad didn't want to give up any time or things with us that he had, since he already lost the ability to see us all the time. Mom was always presenting it like stepdad was our primary dad. But she and dad shared equal custody and my dad did more than my stepdad. He worked extra hours when we were with mom so he could leave early and be with us after school. He was involved in school, in extracurriculars, in our friendships, and he showed up to extracurricular events or school events even if it was mom's time. Which was allowed BTW. That stuff was seen as anyone could come. Dad's the only one who came to everything. My stepdad isn't a bad guy but has wanted to be more to us than he has left for a lot of hurt feelings on his part and frustration on ours. This is another one where I saw it coming and I hoped getting ahead of it would help. But he was angry at me for my decision and for telling him. Mom's angry for both as well. They said it was humiliating him to tell him so straightforwardly and to basically demote him as not father of the bride. I told him I never demoted him because he never was father of the bride. He just wanted to be. He told me I should have made a bunch of different decisions, and in case people ask. He's, stepdad, not paying for the wedding or financing any part of it. Stories number 25. They are holding my husband hostage. Do you have guns? So I manage a hotel with 400+ rooms. Summer is when we get the busiest. Lobby full of people, kids running around, it's pleasant vibe all about. This afternoon I'm in my office doing payroll, and one of the guest service agent walks in visibly panicking. He tells me there's a hotel guest outside who's crying and asking for the police. She's claiming that a man is holding her husband hostage. Hearing this, I call security to the lobby and step out to see exactly what's going on. I come to the lobby and I see everyone staring at this lady who's hysterical. She tells me she saw a man go to her room and since then she can't get in touch with her husband. She claims this man is holding him hostage. Her story makes no sense to me, as she states that the individual she observed had key and none of my agents would issue a key without confirming ID. So I calm her as best I can and leave her seated in the lobby with one of my security guards and I go up with the other 2. As we make our way to the lobby she starts yelling, "Do you have guns? You need guns." When we arrive at the room we knock and get no response. We enter and find the room vacant, which no signs of struggle. We come back down and inform her of the findings and I ask her is it possible she went to the wrong floor. She answers no. Then I ask did she seen the individual enter the room. She says no, she just saw a man walk in the general direction of her room and ran to the elevators. I rolled my eyes so hard. I was trying so hard to hold back and not call her an absolute idiot. The hallway has 20 rooms, no shit there was another guy there. On top of all this, her husband stumbles out of the bar and sees her sitting on the couch. Apparently he accidentally put his phone on silent. She then nervously says, "I guess I listened to too many true crime podcasts," and apologizes, then goes to the elevator to return to their room. I have been working in the hospitality industry for a good while now, but this was some next level of dumbassery. Stories number 26. Aita for not forgiving father after he stole my inheritance. It's 1999, my mom passes away from liver cancer. I'm 25 years old, single child, wet behind the ears and gullible. 80% of my mother's estate at the time, about $16,000, but we're not in the USA, pays out to me. My dad says due to my mom's deteriorating mental health they never had time to change her will, the money should have come to him, can I pay it over to him? I agree, because one is supposed to trust your parents. Fast forward about 5 years and one brief failed marriage later, he finds himself a nice Russian bride. The dynamic changes and he badmouths my late mom at every barbecue etc., and his new wife is the best thing ever. I move cities, get married, start a family of my own. We chat on the phone once a week or every 2 weeks but don't see each other for years, 8 years to be exact. Him and the Russian bride come and visit once, borrow my truck to go to a big national park. I gave it to them with a full tank of diesel, I got it back empty, with the light on. In 2023 he sold his house and moved to Russia with the bride. I'm not sure if he invested the house's money locally or if he moved it to Russia, I suspect the latter so that the bride has easy access to it when he falls over. My, now late wife, falls ill and passes away last year. I send a message to everyone after she passed away with all the funeral details and what happened. My dad's response, "Oh, now that's bad news." He doesn't bother flying in for the funeral service or anything. He messages me a few weeks later, asking if she was cremated or buried. Like WTF. I speak to his sister, a highly educated PhD with many law degrees etc. We speak about my mom's passing and the similarities to what happened to me. I mentioned the inheritance. She freaks out. She, being legally qualified, helped my mom with the will in the hospital before she passed away as she knew my dad would be a douche about the money. I confront my dad about the money, 25 years after he swindled me out of it. He denies it, then tries to claim the amount was 10% of what it truly was, and with every lie I bring out what I remember to be the truth, along with evidence. Eventually I tell him never to contact me again, and stop answering his messages. He tries to message me once a while, but it's more and more random. Turns out that it looks like he has early stages of dementia. A few months later some distant family contacts us, asking why I have no contact with my father, because he reached out to them to talk, and he seems lonely. We suspect the bride leaves him alone at home because with dementia he is a handful and she doesn't want to deal with him. We tell them what happened and they understand. As time passes, his sister is now asking me to forgive him for what he did and to free my soul from these shackles, as she calls it. My reply was from the series Billions, hate is nature's most perfect energy source. It's endlessly renewable. I have no urge to forgive him, but Aita for not forgiving. Stories number 27. Next door neighbor slagged my house off to my face. Because she didn't realize I lived there. More funny than anything. My next door neighbors are elderly. Their parcel was delivered to our house by mistake, so I went over to give it to them. The older lady greeted me super kindly and thanked me for the parcel. At some point she pointed at our house, her face turned snide and she asked me, "Do you know them?" I played dumb and was like, "No, haven't met them." She then went on a tirade about my partner smoking weed. He doesn't, there's a path that runs between our house that youths regularly go to smoke. She mentioned she sees him a lot with children, our kids, but never sees the woman, me, and laughed saying I must not get out a lot. Mentioned she'd reported us for the weed smoking but got nowhere with it. All the while I was just smiling and agreeing like, oh, that's not good. Her husband, who does know I live there and the partner of the weed smoker, then came over and said thanks, and I took that as my cue to get the hell out of there and run back to my house before she noticed who I was. Told my partner and he laughed his head off. Me, on the other hand, am absolutely mortified. We're moving in a couple weeks, thank God. Had to share. Stories number 28. AIO for pulling my sister out of her field day due to an unfair rule. So, my sister is in elementary school, yesterday was her field day. Parents or guardians were invited to chaperone. My mom had work, so she couldn't make it and asked me to go instead. I agreed of course because anything to skip school and also I did want to supervise just in case. So, I was chaperoning. Everything was fine for the first few hours, she was having fun, I was having fun watching her. They finished all the competitive games, and we were finally at the last 3 activities which were just for fun and entertainment. The first one was a slip dash and slide, which is basically a makeshift water slide. They lay a tarp on top of a hill and soak it with water and soap to slide down. So, I help her change into her swimsuit. Cool. Everything is good. Boys are shirtless and are wearing trunks. This information sounds worthless right now, but just keep this in mind. Keep in mind this swimsuit is a one-piece, completely age-appropriate swimsuit. We exited the bathroom and headed outside, hand in hand. There was a long line at the front and there was a female teacher standing there. Okay, I didn't think much of it. Maybe they were checking for cuts or blisters. Eventually, me and my sister get to the front of the line. The teacher looks at my sister up and down very obviously, and then says, "You need to put on shorts over your swimsuit." I had shorts packed, but this rule seemed unfair to me. So I asked her why. She gave me a vague beat around the bush answer, something like it was the rules. I told her that was completely unfair and it made no sense as to how the boys were allowed shirtless with legs showing but the girls had to cover up. So I asked her what we could do. She said verbatim, she needs to put on shorts or she cannot slide. I told her that was completely unfair and quite strange. I asked why the boys were allowed shirtless but the girls needed to cover up. The swimsuit was completely age-appropriate and showed barely any skin. She rolled her eyes at me, and then turned around. I tried to grab her attention again but she walked away and grabbed the principal. He came to me and I told him our issue, and he said the exact same thing. Wear the shorts or she couldn't slide. At this point, I was pretty pissed. No one had offered me a valid explanation. So I grabbed my sister's hand and turned around and left. She was upset obviously, but I told her I would just take her to a water park instead. When my mom got home from work, I told her what happened and she was equally as pissed. My sister stayed home from school today because my mom was sent a passive-aggressive email from the principal, basically saying it's not hard to comply with school rules and I was being overly hostile. Maybe I was overreacting, but I just found that rule very unfair and quite strange. Elementary school and these girls are already being taught to cover up, while the boys are allowed to be shirtless. Stories number 29. I'm a 40-year-old man who just used a bidet toilet for the first time and my life is changed. On holiday in Indonesia and the hotel room toilet has a bidet washing device that pops out when you turn a little tap and I thought, what the hell, live a little. I've had the option before but I just never thought it could possibly do as good a job as TP. I even lived in Italy for years as a child with multiple bidets in the house and never used one once. Always the wipe. Even my wife has advocated for bidet usage in the past but I was always like nah, not for me thanks. Well, this thing was effective and efficient. Not a mark on the toilet paper I wiped with afterwards. Fully clean in a fraction of the time and effort of wiping. How can I go back to wiping only after this? Why the hell aren't these a global thing? What is it that the West has against a little anus cleaning spritz? And yes, I enjoyed how it felt. Which makes it worse that I've been missing out all these years. Edit. Thanks to everyone for their support and for all the comments. Having very recently turned 40, you've all reversed my zero birthday crisis a full 180 and I have a new lease of life. I can't wait to explore the varied world of anus washing contraptions. I think I might start a blog. Stories number 30. GF asks so much of me. Considering ending the relationship. We're both in our mid-30s and been dating just shy of a year. We do not live together. I have a lot on my plate. I work full-time, going to school part-time, have a couple dogs I walk twice a day. She asks so much of me in terms of favors. Here's a short list. Pick her and her friend up after her car breaks down. Take her car to get it serviced. I let her borrow my car to go to work and she got me a parking ticket. Her registration is expired too. Ended up paying for the repair, but she did pay me back a month later. Take her cat to the vet. Lend her gas money. Drive up to another state to grab things from a storage unit. She lives with her mom and they don't get along. Her mom wants her out. She wants me to move into a new place with her. I said no, not until you show me you can afford rent. She just got a new job a couple months ago and is upset how much she's losing to taxes. I later learned that she's in debt over $10,000. She has a chance to pay one of her debts off before they start garnishing wages from her paycheck. I ask how I can help and she wants $2,500 from me. I say I'll consider it as I do have the money. She took that as a yes. A week ago I told her I couldn't lend the money. It's a firm boundary I'm setting and that I refuse to give her any money at all. Plus I don't trust she'll be able to pay me back. We get in a big fight, she says her trust and faith in our relationship has been shaken. Now I'm fucking mad. She suggests I go to a phone therapy appointment to try and get a third-party perspective, so I do. It didn't solve much, just allowed me to voice more resentment that I've been building. The last couple days she started a home-sitting gig that also includes walking their dog, a little chihuahua. Today she is complaining of a stomach ache that she's considering going to urgent care for and asked me to go to the house to walk the dog for her. I have class today and don't get out until 7 p.m., plus I have my own dogs to walk. I really don't want to. Now I'm considering breaking up with her. Edit, oh, and we have sex like once a month and it isn't even good. What the hell am I thinking? I miss my bachelor ways. Edit 2, this one is wild to me. After our phone therapy session the therapist called her back to talk mono. Her phone volume was high and I'm pretty sure I heard the therapist say she'd give her the money. Later that night we're watching a movie, she jumps on her phone, I glance over and see her depositing $2,500 into her account. A couple days later I confront her about it. I asked if the therapist gave her the money. No. I asked if she's lying to me. She says, I'm not lying to you. I tell her what I observed earlier and I'm pretty sure she got the money. If you knew the answer, then why did you have to ask? She fucking lied to my face. How unprofessional is it for a therapist to give her $2,500? She also revealed to me that she's not paying for her sessions because of her financial troubles. Edit 3, we got in a big fight because I told her I wouldn't walk the dog she's babysitting because she has tummy pains. I was this close to ending things. I was fuming. But then she told me she's in the ER for her problems. I've been here with her for 2 hours now and the issues remain unknown. I'm still really wanting to end it. Stories number 31. Aita for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after our friend almost pushed me into a pool. I, 34M, have never been a strong swimmer. I can tread water if needed, but I generally avoid swimming when possible. This is something my wife Anna, 32F, knows and has always respected. Last weekend, we were at a barbecue at our friends Dave and Sarah's house. They have a nice backyard pool and most people were planning to swim. I politely declined when everyone started changing into swimwear, saying I'd just hang out poolside. My wife went swimming with the others while I enjoyed watching from a safe distance. After about an hour, my friend Dave started insisting I join them. I kept saying no, explaining I wasn't comfortable swimming. He laughed it off and said, "Come on, don't be boring." I continued to refuse, getting increasingly uncomfortable with his pressuring. Things escalated when Dave started approaching me with this mischievous grin, saying, "Sometimes you just need a little push." He actually grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward the pool. I panicked and pulled away, nearly falling in the process. I was genuinely frightened and shouted for him to stop. What upset me most was that my wife was right there watching this happen and said nothing. She was laughing along with everyone else like it was just a joke. I felt completely betrayed that she didn't step in when she knows how uncomfortable I am with swimming. After we got home, I confronted her. I'll admit I raised my voice significantly. I said something like, "How could you just stand there while Dave was trying to force me into the pool? You know I hate swimming. You're supposed to have my back." She got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Dave was just having fun. This made me even angrier and I ended up sleeping on the couch. The next day, she told me I embarrassed her by making a scene and then yelling at her afterward. Now she's saying I should apologize to her and to Dave for ruining the vibe at the party. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting my wife to stand up for me, but maybe I shouldn't have yelled. So, Aita. Update, Aita for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after our friend almost pushed me into a pool. It's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on the situation with my wife and Dave. First, I want to thank everyone for their comments and insights. I'm sorry I don't have time to respond to each comment. I also appreciate the Redditors saying that I'm weak or should start standing up for myself. Not gonna lie, maybe there's some truth in that. However, reading the different perspectives helped me reflect on the situation more clearly. After taking some time to cool down, I decided to have a proper conversation with my wife. We sat down after dinner and I made sure to approach the topic calmly. I started by apologizing for yelling at her. I explained that while I was hurt by her not stepping in, my reaction wasn't constructive and I shouldn't have raised my voice. Anna listened and then opened up. She admitted she hadn't realized how genuinely frightened I was in the moment. She thought I was just being stubborn about swimming and that Dave was trying to lighten the mood. She said she could see now how his actions crossed a line, and she apologized for not supporting me when I needed her. We had a deeper conversation about boundaries and how important it is to back each other up in social situations. She promised to be more attentive to situations that make me uncomfortable, and I promised to communicate my feelings before they escalate to shouting. It was actually a really productive conversation that brought us closer. As for Dave, he called me the other day. I thought he might be calling to apologize, but that's not what happened. Instead, he asked why I was being so weird about the pool incident and said everyone was just trying to have fun. When I tried explaining how his actions made me feel unsafe, he dismissed it and said I needed to lighten up and learn to take a joke. I kept my cool and told him firmly that trying to force someone into water when they've repeatedly said no isn't a joke, it's disrespectful and potentially dangerous. He scoffed and changed the subject to some upcoming basketball game. My wife and I have decided to take a break from hanging out with Dave for a while. Anna completely supports this decision now that she understands how serious this was for me. We're planning to spend more time with friends who respect boundaries instead. I'm relieved that my wife and I are on the same page now, even if Dave still doesn't get it. Sometimes you realize which relationships are worth putting the work into, and which ones might need to be reconsidered. Stories number 32. I've been disowned for being single at 32. I guess I'm here for emotional support. I'm Indian. I had a breakup 6 months ago. I've been trying to date recently but I've had a lifelong issue of having a hard time feeling a spark. I live with my parents, I own a home but it's too much maintenance for just me so I rent it out. A near stranger offered me marriage by sending his parents to our house unannounced. I know this guy from years ago and we're incompatible because he's homophobic, casteist, and other reasons. I don't want to see him. I think it's insane he sent his parents to pressure me and also involve my parents. My parents insist I date him because I don't have other options, I'm an embarrassment, I'm old, I'm a disgrace, I'm losing my chance to have kids, and I can fix him after marriage and apparently learn to be attracted to him. They attempted to guilt me into agreeing by bringing over and involving my dementia-ridden grandma. So now my grandma is upset. I said this proposal sounds like a living hell to me. They disowned me. They said I'm killing them and my grandma. I have to now evict my poor tenants, sell my property, if my parents even agree because their names are also on it, and find and buy an apartment. Quickly, I have 2 brothers, one who insists I give that guy another chance and that I'm causing my parents stress by existing unmarried, and the other also lives with the parents and says I need to move out and go no contact. I agree. I'm just so overwhelmed that I can't do anything. I'm lying in my car because I'm afraid to go home. Edit. I'm too overwhelmed to respond much but thank you everyone for your supportive and kind words, I have a headache from crying. I wish I had people like you in my family. Stories number 33. Aita for not caring that my mom is rude to my stepmom enough to live with my dad full time. My parents got divorced when I, 15M, was a baby. My sister, 24F, was 9 back then. My parents shared custody of us and when I was 3 dad remarried. For as long as I can remember there was lots of tension between my dad and my stepmom and mom. My mom never liked my stepmom and the fact she wanted to parent me. When I was younger my stepmom used to call me her little boy and stuff like that. My mom hated that and she was rude to her whenever they met in person. Otherwise she refused to speak to her at all. It drove my dad and stepmom crazy. My stepmom wasn't the same with my sister because my sister was older and never really liked our stepmom. She was always distant and rejected any attempt our stepmom made to bond or be there for her and I think my stepmom knew she wouldn't win so she focused all her energy on me. My stepmom couldn't have bio kids so she saw me as her chance to be a mom, I think. My sister doesn't really talk to dad anymore and she doesn't talk to stepmom at all. Whenever my dad and sister talk they fight because my dad hates how my sister stood by mom and was okay with mom treating our stepmom badly. My sister always said her loyalty is with mom and that he never should have let her play mommy with me. My sister told me our stepmom was like that with me from the time she and dad started dating more seriously. That she'd make me sit in her lap and would be kissing all over me when stepmom and dad showed up for her school plays and stuff. And once it was dad's parenting time she was very possessive over me and even when it was mom she tried to make mom let her hold me. She said it was gross this weird woman coming in and acting like I was hers. She tried to be over-affectionate with my sister back then too but my sister was old enough to back away. Me and my sister talk about this stuff a lot. Even though she's almost 10 years older than me we're super close and I tell her stuff all the time. She even talked about how bad our parents' marriage was and answered questions I had about how bad the divorce was and stuff. Mom's answered some questions too. Dad never has and he said he never will. A few weeks ago things between my mom and my dad and stepmom got worse. There was a fight over Mother's Day and mom told my stepmom she's not a mother, she's just a sterile, insane woman who can't accept she's not a mother to her, mom's, kids and never has been. That she'll never get a Mother's Day where she's treated like a mom by any kids. I did hear some of the fight because I was at Dad's house that day and there was a lot of screaming from my stepmom and my dad. Dad told me about it later that night. Then a couple of weeks after that point he confronted me about it again and he asked me why I wasn't insisting on living with him and my stepmom full time. I asked why I would and he said because of the fight and how much my mom hurt my stepmom and how awful she has always treated her. I told him I don't care about that and it won't make me live with him full time. He started yelling and I told him if he wants me to choose I'll live with mom full time. He stormed off. Before I went back to mom's he confronted me again. Said his marriage is suffering because his wife feels disrespected by all three of us as in mom, sister, me, and he said I need to show her she matters before she leaves him. He said I should be disgusted by how mom has treated her. I told him she's mom. That I'm not going to pick a person who isn't really my parent over her. My dad's furious and I had to block my stepmom because she was texting all this why wouldn't you stand up for me or why wouldn't you care kind of stuff. Dad told me I should care because my stepmom has been amazing to me and all she ever wanted was to have a chance at motherhood with some kid. Stories number 34. Aita for not helping some of my family after they exclude us from their celebrations reunions. Hi, I come from a large family, 9 aunts and uncles, half of which are in the US starting from the 70s and 1-2 stayed in the Middle East. I was born in the US. When they come for their green cards, vacations, illness births, we're always here with our homes open for them. We have hosted one aunt and her daughters for about a month each year for over 20 years, and one of her daughters lived with us till they established themselves in the US. We also go down to visit every few years and see them often. Earlier this year, my uncle passed and prior to then, his wife was staying in our home, we took care of her, did all her paperwork, helped find a new job, and when he died my mom flew out and is still with her comforting her. It's been 3 months. 2 days ago I find out that over Easter weekend, his daughter, who was very comfortable calling me when I was helping her mom, got all the family that grew up in the Middle East, the kids of 3 aunts, together for a little reunion and spent the week together. They went out and explored. Mind you, I just graduated college and waiting to start a job in May, so they know I'm off and alone. I just feel used, like we're only for the dirty work but in happy occasions we're forgotten. This has been a pattern with them. Their babies' baptisms, parties, forgotten, even weddings are a last batch invitation. We're always here for help in the US, but now that they made it, they built this close-knit, closed-off circle just for them excluding the US family. Now their mom, my aunt, wants to stay with us in the US till she finds a new home. Probably a year. She doesn't want to stay with her kids, she says, they're busy and need to focus on their own lives. I don't feel very comfortable hosting her with a clean heart. I told my mom nope, she should go to her daughters or son. And she agrees. We're a closed house. Am I the AH for not agreeing to host help her? Stories number 35. My coworker hated me over my man. So, a couple of years ago before I became a stay-at-home mom, my husband and I worked at the same job together. My husband started about a month before I did. Everything was going good until this new lady started. We'll call her Janet. Janet. She was a piece of work. I was assigned to train her on her first day but she already had experience so she pretty much had the hang of it. Her and I got to talking and getting to know each other when I just casually mentioned that my husband, we were engaged at the time, worked there too and I pointed him out. We continued the conversation like normal and then I went on to my next assignment. Why about an hour later at our first break, one of our friends comes to our car and says that Janet was talking about me. She was saying that I was so quick to point my man out like I wanted her to know who he was and all this extra stuff. It was so weird. That was only the beginning. So, I worked with Janet for about 3 months at that job. Within those 3 months, she started problems with all the girls half her age and was spreading lies about me and my husband. She asked me if I knew how to cook. She tried to argue with me and then told my husband she was going to get her daughter to fight me and of course that never happened. She even tried to say that my husband was my sugar daddy. My husband confronted her and asked if she said it and she didn't deny it, she just asked who told him. And she lied on my husband and was trying to gossip about him to our boss to get him fired but it didn't work. She tried to get my man to cheat on me with her by saying sexual stuff in conversation with others but would try to look my husband's way or say it loud enough for him to hear. She was pissed that she couldn't get him to cheat on me. She would try to say negative stuff about me to him and compare me and her but he would shut it down. She would be livid. She then started to try to have sex with other guys in the building thinking my husband would be jealous but he wasn't and what's funny is that out of about 7 guys she tried to have sex with, including my husband, only 1 took the bait. Everyone else was disgusted by her behavior. She even tried to sleep with our married boss. But karma. I had left that job but she was still there. My husband was a lead. Janet was always late to work and it finally caught up to her. She was terminated but didn't know so she still came in but was maybe about an hour later. My husband looked at her and said, "You know you're fired, right?" She looked confused and said that our boss never informed her. She had to do the walk of shame all the way out the door and had to wait for a ride cause she didn't have a car. The lady was 44 years old, I was 20. Stories number 36. My parents' HOA is getting out of hand. Last week, my parents had one of those black painted aluminum fences installed. The neighborhood fence maximum height is 48-inch, so my parents purchased a 48 fence to comply, despite them preferring the 60 and 72 versions more. The day after the contractor completed the job, two elderly women walked right onto their property, a good 70 or 80 foot from the road, and measured the fence compliance. What they, and I, didn't realize is a fence is installed 1 inch off that grass to allow room for the weed whacker to fit below the bottom rail. So the ladies knocked on their door to report their fence was approximate 49-inch everywhere they measured, without permission. It's worth noting my dad did tell the contractor they were limited to a 48-inch fence at the time of hiring. The women brought this to the HOA board yesterday and all 5 members politely told them to pound sand, and while technically they're correct that the fence is 1 inch too tall, the logic on why and materials purchased are correct and make sense. Apparently this isn't going to end here, as one of the women called my mom to say they need to remove the fence or she would get her attorneys involved, reason being she was forced to remove her 6 vinyl privacy fence around her pool 18 months ago. So now she's out for revenge, I guess. My dad is waiting on the next shoe to drop, if any, but he knows for a fact, of the 115-ish homes in this HOA, at least 20 or 30 have 4-foot fences and many you can see are above the grass, just like his. This may actually become a gigantic war over 1 inch. Stories number 37. My mother wants to wear white to my wedding. My groom mother is a tricky one. When she asked what colors she should wear to my upcoming wedding, I just said avoid white and light blue, the bridesmaid's color. She has gone and bought a white dress with some line work light blue floral print on it. I haven't actually seen it, just heard the description. So I asked her if she could send me a pic of it. After a day of leaving me on read, she replied with, "No, that's not appropriate for you to ask me." She then stopped responding to my texts. I then messaged my dad and he wouldn't send me a picture of it, but he pointed me in the direction of a photo of a jacket with a similar color makeup. I responded saying it was far too white for anyone, let alone the mother of the groom, to wear to a wedding. I then sent a bunch of articles that discuss white printed dresses at weddings and what is and isn't appropriate. He responded with agreement that he now understands it's inappropriate, but my mom is stressed at work, so I might have to accept that she will wear it regardless. I'm absolutely fuming that they're unwilling to put me and my fiancé's feelings above hers for this one day in my life. Stories number 38. Should I let it go? So, I am having a parking war with my neighbor and I really don't know what to do. I have owned my house for 9 years and it comes with 2 parking spaces. I only have 1 car. The layout of the houses and car park is a little complicated. My house looks over a river, along with 4 other houses. The car park is in a cul-de-sac, with the houses along a pathway, away from the car park. My parking spaces are the closet to the pathway, with my house being at the furthest end. My neighbor's spaces are the other side of the cul-de-sac, about 1 minute walk to her house, but my spaces are the closet to her house. I hope that makes sense. My neighbor, Amy, is privately renting and moved in about 8 months ago. The day she moved in, I went round as 2 cars were in both of my spaces. I mentioned they were both mine, she seemed fine and said she didn't have a car. I said as long as one space was always free, I didn't mind someone using the other one. Since then I have come home from work and her dad is parked in my space, her ex is parked in my space, her friend is parked in my space. I'm sick of going round to speak to her and I'm sick of coming home and being able to park in my space. Now, she has an electric charger attached to her house, which is connected to the wall by one of my spaces. The owners of the house put it in, without asking me if it was okay, as they were basically taking one of my spaces to be able to charge their car. She now has 2 different cars parking regularly to use her charger. About 10 days ago she had a party and one of her friends left their car there and it's still there. I wouldn't mind, but the cars who use her charger keep parking in my space, so they can get access to the charger. I spoke to her today and she basically told me, "Oh, I know, it's my friend's car and they are moving it today, by the way I'm getting my license back, so I will be parking there, no do you mind or is it okay, just a deal with it attitude." I said they are both my spaces and she started talked over me and tried to change the subject. I don't know what to do. Should I just give up and park somewhere else? Shall I just go round every time and hope she gets annoyed and parks in her own space? Should I just be a bitch? Should I contact the council? I'm thinking of getting signs and bollards. Is that drastic? Any help is greatly appreciated. FYI, I'm in the UK. Stories number 39. Coworker didn't like my friend and I quietly chatting while working, made it a problem. I, 21F, work in a pharmacy as a pharmacy technician along with my friend. We were both chatting about next semester and what classes we were taking while filling medications when my older coworker, 41F, loudly shouts, "Let's play the quietly game with just you two, and see who can go without talking for 25 minutes, very rudely." All of my other coworkers were shocked as out talking was not bothering them and we had no patience at the time. So I decided to comply, but in her rigorous standards. I stopped talking to her. Period. I only respond if talked to first and only if it is about work. I also do not talk to her once clocked out as she complains about fraternizing with higher members of management outside of work hours. She is a lead tech, so she is higher. She hates it. Keeps trying to talk to me but I only respond with, "Is it about work?" And move on. She is the only one I do it to. It's fun. This coworker has a streak of being rude and overly harsh and not apologizing. It's nice TK give her a taste of her own medicine. Stories number 40. I matched with my celebrity crush on Raya. I said yes. For anyone who missed the first post, just check my profile, it's the one that starts with, "I matched with my celebrity crush on Raya," and yes, it exploded. Like 1.7 million views exploded. Still trying to process that LOL. So here's the update everyone's been asking, and yelling, for. I said yes. I agreed to meet him. We've been FaceTiming pretty regularly for a few weeks now. Yes, I know I didn't mention that in the first post, my bad, I was trying to keep it short, and after a lot of back and forth, I decided to take the leap. He sent me the tickets. He booked a beautiful hotel. Everything looks insanely real. Like this is actually happening. I'm flying out next week. He's still being super careful, told me again not to tell anyone, no posting, no tagging locations, nothing. His reasons are still the same, PR mess, teen drama, privacy, tabloids. And weirdly I believe him. Or maybe I just want to. But I'd be lying if I said I'm not scared. This could be the wildest story of my life or the biggest mistake I'll ever make. So yeah, that's where I'm at. We'll keep y'all updated assuming I don't end up in a suitcase, LOL. Stories number 41. My male coworker keeps trying to hit on me at work and it's become so cringy that I actively avoid him whenever possible. I 32F, have a coworker that likes to put on this nice guy attitude, but in reality he's one of the most deceitful people I've met in my life. Treats all the male coworkers like dirt, then turns around and attempts to be this nice and humble guy around women. Like if he treats men like that, then what hope does he have actually keeping a lady who will genuinely love him? Oh, and that's not all, he would write love letters to me, which I just awkwardly smile and say no thanks. This makes him outraged and he keeps asking me what's wrong and if he did anything wrong for me to be upset at him. Constantly trying to follow me around, it's become so tiresome that sometimes I actually have to go to the restroom just to have some peace and quiet from the guy. Stories number 42. Aita for refusing to move out of my late mom's room even though it's creeping everyone out. I, 18F, lost my mom pretty suddenly about 2 months ago. She was honestly my best friend and the person I was closest to in the world. I still live in her house, it's now technically mine, but it still feels like hers, and ever since she passed, I've been sleeping in her room. I started doing it the night it happened, and I just haven't been able to stop. It sounds weird to some people, I guess, but for me, it helps. Her scent is still there. Her stuff is untouched. Being in her room is the only time I feel even a little bit safe or calm. I'm not ready to box everything up or pretend like she's just gone. The issue is my extended family. Some relatives have come to stay a few weekends to check in and help out, and a few of them have made comments that I'm being weird for still sleeping in her bed. One even said it was creepy and like something out of a horror movie. Another relative told me I was being unhealthy and clinging too hard, and that I should go back to living like a normal teenager. I get that everyone grieves differently, but I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not refusing to move out forever. I just need a little more time. But now they're acting like there's something seriously wrong with me for how I'm handling this. Aita for not wanting to move out of her room yet. Stories number 43. Aita for not planning a second wedding to cater to my father. My father and I have been no contact for at least 5 years now. Long story short, his wife, I refuse to call her a stepmother, was terrible to me my entire childhood. She controlled every aspect of his life and brainwashed him into thinking I was an evil, malicious person. Well, from the time of no contact up until last year I had assumed he and his wife had moved back to our home state 1,000 miles away. Last year out of nowhere his wife texted me and invited me to Easter dinner. Surprise. They still lived in the same state and town as me. I went to that Easter dinner and figured we could start rebuilding a relationship. Fast forward to this week. My fiancé and I had finally settled on a date and destination for our wedding. We are going to get married 5 hours away from where we live because that's where most of my family and his family live now. I had gone back and forth debating whether or not to invite my father because I figured he wouldn't come anyway and didn't want to deal with the disappointment. My sister essentially guilt-tripped me into inviting him, saying he would never miss my wedding. He isn't that shitty, he attended both of my other sister's weddings, since I already invited his whole side of the family, who all live 30 minutes from the wedding destination. I said screw it and extended the invite to him and his wife. After a few days of no response, his wife calls me, of course he wouldn't call me himself, and tells me my father will not be attending due to the fact that I invited my grams, his mother, who I have always had a good relationship with, and he refuses to be around her. His wife then proceeds to give me excuse after excuse about how terribly my grams treated him and how it would be detrimental for him to be in the same vicinity as her. I was heartbroken. She then told me how malicious and selfish of me it was to plan the wedding at that destination and invite my grams. I was setting my father up, forcing him to see her. This now brings us to her compromise. Why don't I plan a second wedding where we live and I don't invite my grams so that he can attend, lol. Essentially I'm supposed to rearrange all of my plans and compromise to cater to my father and his needs, rather than him compromise and be around my grams for a few hours. So Aita for not planning a second wedding the day before my real wedding. Edit. After I declined to compromise, his wife then proceeded to have a hissy fit and tell me he would come if he has to, but made sure to let me know how miserable he would be the whole time. Needless to say, I revoked my original invite to them, blocked them both and have gone no contact with them again. Edit. My grams was also at my sister's wedding that he attended. So I know it's all just an excuse to not come. I have always been treated differently than my sisters and outcast by my father and his wife, but had hopes now that after so many years we could reconcile. Stories number 44. Should I file for divorce? My husband and I have been married for almost 3 years. Dating for 2 years. The first 2 years were magical. The last 3 have been less than happy. But it hasn't been completely awful either. After we were married and moved in together, I found out that he had almost 30k in CC debt and 50k in student loans. I know that I should have asked, but in my defense I had seen his accounts, checking saving S&P, which were large amounts, and he was really into trading, mostly penny stocks. I also knew that he was earning a relatively okay salary, but everything came crashing down when he was let go from his job and had to go on to EI. Because of this it all came out. Since then we worked hard together to get him out of the credit card debt. He worked odd jobs and put whatever money he had towards the debt. He also got us a puppy during this time. At first I was really pissed off as I didn't want yet another responsibility, especially a financial one. But she is what has kept me sane. Well, he worked odd jobs, I covered the bills because at the time I had a very good corporate job, which I hated but kept because the pay was very good. In addition to this I also worked part-time as a waitress on the weekends and took on extra freelance contract jobs when they came up. I was also taking on 80% of the household duties, as I hate a mess living space and he did care if the house was magazine clean, like I do. I also took on groceries and cooking. However, I do enjoy cooking and shopping as it really helps me take my mind off of all the other things that need to get checked off the list. Fast forward, we are out of debt and in therapy to help get over the resentment and anger that I have towards him. He has taken on more of the household responsibilities, has a new job and says that he is working on things. I'm really doing my best to be kind and gentle. I love my friends and family and I'm always silly, happy and proud to share my love and life with these people. My husband used to be one of them, but over the last year or so when I'm with my husband I turn into a miserable troll. I feel constantly disappointed and sad. He always seems to say the wrong things, and when he does try to help out or do something for me it done wrongly and it feels like he's doing it on purpose. Which has led to some out-of-pocket argument. He stays calm and doesn't seem to care and I start yell, we have it out, and a few hours days later we are back to being okay and civil with each other and the cycle starts again. Yesterday evening was the nail in the coffin for me. We were both home after a long day. He let me know that he had got good news at work, the sun was out and I was in a beautiful mood. We sat and talked and had a glass of sparkling wine to celebrate. Things finally felt like they did before we got married. It was one of the best dates we'd had in a while. After we finished our glasses I got up to start making dinner and was really looking forward to cooking and sharing a meal together. We were riding a high, we might even have S3X. It's been months since we have even seen each other naked, but as I was standing in front of the stove I feel a sharp pain. He had thrown one of the dog's rubber balls at me. I yelped as it hurt and I knew it was going to bruise and it did. I turned around and said, "WFT, why would you do that?" He said, "I threw it, was my left hand." I asked him why he did that and he said he was throwing it for the dog. The dog was sleeping in her crate on the other side of the living room. I asked him if he was sorry and he said yes, because he didn't mean to hit me. I turned off the stove and went to take a shower so that I could cry. I hardly ever cry. When I got out, all I wanted to do was read my book and go to bed. He was annoyed that I wasn't making dinner and kept saying that he was sorry. But I felt like he was just saying it because, that's what you do. I asked him to go away. He told me that I wasn't listening to him because I wanted to seeing things through my own narrative. Whatever that mean. I spent the night crying myself to sleep and then woke up at 3 a.m. and began filling out divorce papers. He isn't a bad guy, but he hasn't been a perfect partner either. Maybe I'm asking for too much. In Ontario, you can't get a divorce unless you have lived apart for over a year. There is adultery or abuse. I wouldn't qualify for any of them. Should I go through with it? Stories number 45. She got upset I moved some candy that she put in an open bowl on my desk into a sealed jar. Yesterday my coworker took some mini candy bars we had in the office and put them into a little wooden bowl on my desk for customers to take. I'm in reception, so it makes sense. The problem is, our building is at least 100 years old and we have mice. We do what we can to keep them under control, but it's not 100%. Anything you leave out that is remotely tempting for them, like chocolate for example, will attract them. And we're trying not to attract them. My work area is the only spot in this entire office where I've been able to keep them completely away. I keep it extremely clean, my trash can has a lid, I wipe up all crumbs and messes, and most of all I do not leave any food at or around my work area. At all, so, to err on the side of caution, I put the chocolate bars in a glass container with a lid. It's actually a rather pretty decorative little container. It still looks nice. I come back from lunch, coworker immediately snaps, I see you didn't like my setup with the candy. You rearranged it. I just replied mice. I don't want to attract mice. Whatever. Then she pretty much gave me the silent treatment the rest of the day, over a candy jar. Really? Of all the ways to be petty in life. So sorry, I don't want mice running around my workspace. Stories number 46. He ruined my relationship, her friend circle, and still got what he wanted. This happened while I was in college, and yes, my cousin, Star, gave me her blessing to share it. Some background, my cousin Star, not her real name, but she really is the star of every room, and I are incredibly close. She's 3 years older than me, and we've always said no one comes between us. At the time, I was 20 and heartbroken over my high school boyfriend. Star, then 23, invited me to a Halloween rave to lift my spirits. She was living with college housemates and casually mentioned I might hit it off with one of her friends, let's call him Jason, 25M. When I met Jason, I thought he was cute, nerdy, funny, tall, on paper, a total catch. We clicked instantly. But since I lived 3 hours away, it didn't go beyond that night. Fast forward about a year, I got accepted to a college much closer to Star and Jason. That winter, Star invited me to her school's concert, and things with Jason picked back up. We started actually dating. Not casual talking, real dates, constant communication, and several months of a relationship. I was falling for him hard. Then, the day after my birthday, Jason sent me a long, out-of-nowhere text saying, I had fun, but I never liked you like that. I was stunned. He had kissed me, slept with me, made me feel wanted for months, only to say it meant nothing. I was heartbroken. Star was furious. She told me, he's a snake, and I regret ever introducing you. She helped build me back up, reminding me of my worth. But I was still deep in my feelings. If you're wondering whether Star had feelings for Jason, no. Star was seeing someone else at the time. A guy who lived near my new school. Then came Star's graduation trip. She told me it was supposed to be a group trip to South America with her housemates. Later, I found out Jason had intentionally told the others not to come, so it ended up being just the two of them. Star didn't realize he had orchestrated the entire trip until after they were already there. While I was at home crying into Bridget Jones for the 5th time, Star texted me that Jason had hooked up with a tourist on the trip. I was like, of course he did. I started focusing on myself again, until I got the text. That dreaded, hey. And like a fool, I responded. Jason came back around, this time saying he wanted to be non-exclusive. And I, still heartbroken, agreed. We slipped into a messy situationship for nearly a year, until he ghosted me again, no warning. At that point, I was finally done. Then came New Year's. I was hanging out with Star, and Jason's name came up. She looked annoyed. Me, why do you look like that? Star, I didn't want to tell you, but Jason and I aren't friends anymore. Me, what? Why? Star, because he told me he loved me. She shut it down immediately. In what world would I ever be with the guy who dated my cousin? After that conversation, Star cut him off completely. She hadn't spoken to him for months by the time the next incident happened. Then came the cabin trip, a trip Star didn't plan, and she didn't invite Jason. Another friend did. During the trip, Jason once again asked Star if she'd give him a chance. She rejected him, again. Later that night, he hooked up with one of Star's high school friends. The fallout didn't stop there. Star lost her entire high school friend group because of it. People either took Jason's side, believed his version of events, or distanced themselves. Jason twisted the narrative and told everyone Star had led him on. He made himself the victim, and sadly, some people bought it. And to top it all off, Star later found out that Jason had already cheated on me during our relationship, with one of her close college friends at a party she wasn't even at. She had no idea at the time, and now. Star, thankfully, met her soulmate, married him, and is thriving. Me. I married my best friend, someone who treats me like the main character, not a backup plan. And Jason? Jason is married to the girl from the cabin trip, the one who ghosted her lifelong friend to be with the guy who schemed his way through all of us. To his wife, I truly hope you don't find out the hard way. But girl, once a cheater, always a cheater. Live long and eat shit, Jason. Stories number 47. Found videos of boyfriend doing anal on himself. I was getting out of work and went to the guy I was seeing for 7 months' house after work. He made me keys to get in whenever. He knew I was stopping by after work but ended up falling asleep. So I let myself in and saw that he had porn up on his phone while he was sleeping in his room. That's not a big deal to me. So curiosity got the best of me and saw it was a diesel from his locked video files. I went on and looked and saw video of him fucking himself with dildos and taking pictures of himself in women's underwear. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you're nosy. Does that mean he's gay? Or is that common amongst straight men? I didn't tell him and nor want to bring it up. But it's something that's stuck in my mind. Thoughts? I don't think it's changed how I feel, but now it's just something that's always gonna be on my mind. I just don't know what to think. Help on advice? Or opinions? Stories number 48. Entitled Directors Enhance the Lives of IT Departments. A new director was hired and demanded that the company spend the extra $500 to get the laptop with the touchscreen. Took less than a month before she left something on the keyboard and attempted to crush it with the screen. The screen lost. Another director was 100% insisting that she would never use OneDrive. Her files were too important. OneDrive is not secure. Nobody else was allowed to send files from OneDrive to her. The end result was that only one department still having the problem where 5 people would each have different copies of the same file. Then when that computer crashed, none of the files were backed up. She would have had to back them up manually constantly as opposed to the ongoing sync of OneDrive, which was, of course, not her fault that everything was lost.